This is Dallas Solar Wade with Narcotic Wasteland, and I am chatting with the guys with the Tampa Morgue.
King's X makes their Billheimer Capitol Theater debut on December 5th, 2024 with special guest Sound and Shape. Celebrating over 4 decades of music, the trio will perform select tracks from their new album, 3 Sides of One, as well as highlighting tracks spanning their entire career. Don't miss King's X with Sound and Shape at the Billheimer Capitol Theater December 5th. Tickets on sale now. Visit rutheckerdhall.com.
What's up? This is Tony, and you're listening to the Tampa Morgue, Season 2, Episode 66. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Ed Webb. What's up, Mr. Ed?
Mr. Anderson, what's going on, brother?
Doing great. It's been a busy week here, man, at the Tampa Morgue, and we're looking forward to bringing you this episode. Everybody who's listening, we appreciate you checking in and hanging out. It's going to be a busy-ass episode. We have like 3 different bands coming on tonight. Everybody knows we've been promoting Swarmfest and stuff, and Ed, we've been working off the clock, haven't we?
yeah, yeah, and the editing is going to be even funner.
Yeah, Ed's going to hate me in the next 2 weeks with this,
I've already,
all the editing.
I just showed you off the camera,
The
off,
I hate Tony sign.
and drawing pictures of me beating you with a bat and you laying on the ground and stick figures. It's killer.
Yeah, we've been busting our asses because we wanted to have episodes in November. Anybody who listens to our show, they know that me and Ed have a lot of stuff going on. I've been traveling to Tampa for the shows we have coming up, which we're going to talk about Swarmfest. That's actually pretty much the focus of tonight's show. It's going to be the focus of next show too, because the next episode next week we have Nick Goodyear from Swarmfest coming on, and that's going to be a long episode, Ed, because we've known Nick for years. There's going to be a lot of just bullshit and going back and forth. A lot of history there between us and him.
Well, he's got his own history. So
yeah, he's got his own history.
I've known that guy
since the 90s, man. We've known him.
Yeah, man. I mean, maybe even, I guess the mid to late 90s, because, when I was in Contorted, he was getting into bands, and obviously Dark Faith and Passive Possession. I did shows with them back in the day, and it's hard to realize that you look back and it's been fucking almost 30 years,
Yeah.
It's crazy. But
that's like my wife said to me today. She said, she's like, you moved to Lithuania 7 years ago today. I said, 7 years, and of course I go back and forth to Florida, but that's 7 years. If you think about that, Ed, it doesn't seem like 7 years.
It does not. But I mean, the only reason it kind of does is because of the fact that we haven't played together since 2018 as a band. And, the fact that COVID kind of kept you out of America for a while. And there was a lot of stuff that went on between you coming back and forth and all that. So 7 years, the problem is it flies. And now when you look, you've got what, a 5 and a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's
last Generic Christ show. You think about this, Joe's actually going to join us for a little bit tonight. He's going to help us out with one of the segments. But if you look at, Joe has 3 kids now, Chicago Joe, who helps out on the show once in a while. And I have 2 kids now. Last show we played was 2018. We had no kids, me and Joe. None of us had any kids. So it does go really fast. And look at you. I mean, I look at your kids, Ed, when, back in the day when you bring them to our rehearsals and stuff, and they were just little kids. And now they're teenagers and, adults, telling you off and stuff like that.
Yeah, man, pretty much. My daughter
fixing their cars and shit.
My daughter voted her first time this year, so
there you go.
That's that tells you how old, because you got to be at least 18. So, I'm done. That's the way I look at it. Is I'm on the back 9 of that, and yours kind of.
Yeah, I'm done too. We wanted 3. We're good with 2.
I'm talking about the growing up phase. Like now,
we're not even close.
They can literally go get jobs and take care of themselves. Yours are going to require your assistance for a long time.
Now is no. My oldest daughter, the 5-year-old, just learned no, where she says it all the time. Like when you leave the room, you hear no. So that's the big thing is no. And it's like, okay, we're at that stage now, but they're awesome. And
can't live with them. Can't live without them.
Yeah. So we're going to have, like we said, we're going to have a busy show tonight. So we're going to get rolling because, we have 3 different bands coming on tonight. First of all, we opened the show with Narcotic Wasteland. Addicted to Junk is the name of the track from the self-titled record out of 2014. So we're going to have Dallas on the show tonight. The first guest tonight is going to be Austin Thomas from Vacuous Depths. He's the vocalist and guitar player from that band. And then we're going to have, to end the show tonight, we're going to have Blake, Johnny, and Elijah, a.k.a. Tyrant, from Interceptor from South Carolina. All these bands are playing the Swarmfest coming up November 22nd to the 24th, which we've been talking about for weeks now. So we're going to go over all that tonight. We also, as you heard, King's X, December 5th at the Capitol Center. What's the full name of that center?
Billheimer Theater.
Billheimer Theater. And we're going to give away tickets here. We are giving away tickets on the Instagram page if you want to check that out. All the details are on there. So that was the ad you heard in the beginning of this show. And Ed, so I mean, I do have releases. We've been doing releases every show, coming out records the next 2 weeks, or came out last week. So I'm going to continue that. Is there anything else that you could think of that we want to mention tonight before we get to that and get to our guests?
No, there's a lot just involved with that I think is enough.
Yeah, like I said, we got 3 bands coming on tonight. We've never had that on this show before. Next week is Nick Goodyear from Swarmfest, and Yeah, so and then we'll be playing Swarmfest. So we'll talk about all that. So the next two shows are going to be packed with that. I'm going to go over the releases that are coming out this week or next week really fast. I'll bang those out, and then we'll get started with we'll have Austin Thomas from Vacuous Depths coming on the show. So first of all, we got Goats of Doom from Finland. Their album came out November 17th, 2024. That title is INRI. Label Purity Through Fire out of Germany. It's their seventh full-length follow-up to 2021's Shiva. Then Stenched out of Mexico has a record coming out November 19th. Purulence Gushing from the Coffin. It's their debut, 8 tracks, follow-up to their 2023 demo. Mortal Force out of Canada. Their death metal band. Mystic Science. I can't pronounce the damn name for the album. So we're going to say Mystic Science, your realities, I think it's actually says there. November 22nd, that comes out. That's on Horror, Pain, Gore, Death Productions, which we know that label. Me and Ed have been involved with that label with Generic Christ in the past. Carnal Rot out of the UK, the death metal band. They have an EP coming out called Skullfuck Fulmination. November 8th, that came out. Band formed in 2022, and that's the EP they're just releasing. Razor Forge out of the UK, heavy metal band. EP Nightfall Hunter 7 inches coming out. That's a 2-song EP. They do Heavy Metal Hunter cover also by Metal Lucifer. And what else is coming out here? Gauntlet Rule from Sweden. It's a heavy metal band. Title of the album is After the Kill. Comes out November 12th. Label Fighter Records out of Spain. It's a follow-up to the band's 2022 album, The Plague Court. Let me see here. Burial Oath out of Cleveland, Ohio. It's a black metal band formed in 2015. Name of their album is The Cycle of Suffering. Comes out November 15th on Redefining Darkness Records out of Ohio. Band's third full length. The band Beast out of Germany. It's a heavy metal band. Ancient Power Rising comes out November 15th. The band's first full length. They put out a demo in 2020. Let's see what else I have here. Molder from Illinois, death thrash metal band. Catastrophic Reconfiguration, Prosthetic Records. November 8th that came out. It's a follow-up to the 2022 Engrossed Decay record. Earthburner from Chicago, death grind band. Permanent Dawn is the name of the new record. On M Theory Audio, came out November 8th. It's their first full-length follow-up to the band's 2016 EP. Let's have a couple more here. I don't know if you have anything, Ed, but I'll just read these couple more. Witch Pit, stoner sludge band from South Carolina. Forever Spoken came out November 8th. Heavy Psych Silence is the label. A follow-up to the band's 2022 full-length, The Weight of Death. Chaos Invocation out of Germany, black metal band formed in 2004. Title is Wherever We Roam. Label AOP Records. It's band's fourth full-length follow-up to the 2022 Devil's Stone and Man. Astral Fortress, the black metal band out of South Carolina. November 4th this came out. It Comes in Waves, it's called. Band has put out a handful of full-lengths in a very short period of time. 2 more, and then I'll roll to you, Ed, if you have anything. Faust out of Prague, thrash metal band. Title Death Galore on Dementia Records. Band's second full-length. And that's actually all I'm going to save the next one for next week because it's going to come out more towards that time. So, Ed, do you have anything on the new release front?
Actually, no, because
there you go.
I stuck to my guns and kind of tried to stay in my lane, getting ready for Swarmfest. So I've kind of been listening to our on repeat, dude, because when you haven't played the song in 6 years, yeah, it's been fun. So no, I'll let you take care of this one this week. I'll have some next week.
Yeah, and everybody who sends us, anybody who wants to know, a lot of bands actually send us these to the Instagram page, the release dates. You feel free to do that. Give us the title. You can give us the label if you want, but just the title, where you guys are from, maybe the style. We'll read it on here. We pull a few, but like I said, anybody who wants to send them to us, feel free. And I say let's start the episode because we have a very busy episode tonight. And we're going to start out with Austin Thomas. So we're going to start out with him. So we're going to play Vacuous Depths. Golden Crosses is the name of the song from the Corporal Humiliation record that came out on Blood Harvest Records. So we're going to play that, Golden Crosses, and we'll be here with Austin Thomas when we come back on the Tampa Morgue. This is Vacuous Depths with Golden Crosses. And that was Vacuous Depths with Golden Crosses from the Corporal Humiliation record on Blood Harvest Records. And we are joined now with Austin Thomas from the band, the guitar player and vocalist. How you doing, man?
What is up, guys? I'm doing good.
Just chilling, man. Glad you know. I know you listen to our show, so first of all, we totally appreciate that, man. And we've been talking about your band for we've been promoting obviously Swarmfest, which is coming up, which you guys are on, which we'll go over that. Tonight with you for a little bit, but yeah, man, we appreciate you giving us the time to come hang out.
Dude, absolutely. I appreciate the space to talk and hang with you guys. Like you said, and we were talking before, I fucking really like the show. It's genuinely, I like long form interviews. I love what you guys are doing with the people that you're talking with. It's not a lot of just Florida centric stuff. You're reaching out all over the world. I think it's awesome. You're touching up with people that I fucking really fuck with a lot. So it's very, very cool.
We
So
appreciate that, man.
glad
You
to be
know,
here.
and we just
Yeah, we grew
decided
up with a lot of the guys too. You know,
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
We kind of decided, you know, in a time where everyone has a 10-minute attention span, we were going to do a podcast that lasts 5 hours. So we kind of like decided to go against anything that's cool. And we're not going to do video too, because that's the biggest thing too now. So we decided to
Yeah,
do that.
fuck a
So
video, dude.
yeah, and it's fucking hard. When we first started doing this, me and Ed were talking about this on the last episode. When we first started doing this, man, nobody gives a shit about you. Nobody cares. You just kind of just keep on trucking, man, and do what you do. And we have, like I said, man, we have a good core of listeners now. And we, like you said, we appreciate, you know, we're telling you, man, you coming on is cool. And, you know, your band has been around for a while now. We'll talk about that because, you know, and you guys what? So are you from Dunedin? You were born in Dunedin?
Yeah. I've lived in Florida every part of my life. I was actually born in Texas, but don't tell anyone. Um, I have lived here since I was a baby. My dad was in the Air Force. They moved here basically because of the fact that I was. They wanted a change of scenery and better weather. They got none of that. So solid move, guys. Solid move, parents.
more hurricanes.
So, but I've been in St. Pete. I've lived in Orlando. I've lived in Tampa. I lived all over this area, but my home base here is in Dunedin. I grew up in kind of like in my later part of my adult or early part of my adult life here. So it's been great. It's a great small town.
And you guys having no problems with the storms that just came through a couple weeks ago?
Us personally, no, but I have a lot of friends that are closer to the water that got hit hard. So yeah.
Yeah, we were talking last week. I think it was 2 weeks ago about what was it? The bands that got Virulence in them and Nasty Savage.
Yep.
All their gear got fucked up at the practice space and stuff.
It's a fucking shame, dude. It's a fucking shame. It's amazing how water just creeps in fucking everywhere. So
yeah, it destroys everything.
And I practiced in there in the 90s.
In that same space.
That sounds so terrible to say that. That in the late 90s, I practiced in there when we're in 2024. But yeah. It was Brutality, Cannibal Corpse practiced in there back then. It was. There's no water there. Like there's no lakes, there's no water.
Yeah.
Like aside from the apartments that surround it that have their fake lakes, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't see how there would have been enough. But the problem is I think what it is it kind of dips from the main road.
Yeah.
So all the water rushed in, and I think that's what happened.
A week ago,
the apartment complex flooded too. So I mean, it's
dude. There's a space like kind of like right or the place just north of me on US 19 here, and I mean just off of 19, like barely off of 19, underwater. For like a mile. And I was like, what the fuck is this? But it's because the ground sloped down and it's crazy, man.
There's no sewer drainage for the sewers.
Yeah.
So
everything's full.
It just pulls up.
Yep. It sucks, man. And it's still there. What's crazy.
Welcome to Florida. And if people
baby.
Welcome to Florida. And so were your parents into music or anything? Or what got you into?
Yeah, I mean, brief history. My dad played drums. And in bands, I remember going to band practice when I was a young kid and hating every moment of it because it was so loud. But he was in cover bands and shit, and he stopped playing. I played drums. I actually played drums as well. There's some sitting next to me.
I was going to ask you that. You had something to do with the band. What was it? Big Rats? What was it? Was that like your first band or something?
Yeah, I played in Big Rats. It was an American hardcore, 80s style hardcore band, and it was really cool. It was really fun. Did it with some friends, and I played drums in that band. I also played in a grind oriented like power violence band in between Vacuous Depths and Big Rats called God Harvest as well, and I did just guitars on that. So I've always played multiple instruments just growing up, but I enjoy writing, so I enjoy the writing process. I enjoy composition. So I kind of dabble where I can, but drums are just fun. Let's be honest. You know what I
Yeah, and
mean?
it's
It's
if
it's not it's not there for like mind expansion. It's there for fucking around and having fun. So
and if you want a job in a band, it's pretty much there's like you're a Tampa guy too. You know how it is. There's like maybe three really.
guaranteed work.
Yeah,
Yes.
guaranteed work. There's like two when we were
Yep.
like doing generic Heist full time a couple years ago. There was like two drummers in the area there's a bunch of drummers, but there was like two guys who may have been in like 12 bands, and they were the
Yep.
guys that that they were like the killer drummers. Everybody wanted them in their bands.
Yep.
We were, in my opinion, we were fortunate to play with a guy like that with Chris. He was one of those guys, Chris Merriman. But that was like that in Tampa. That was, it's like that. I love most places. So you always figure if you play drums, man, you're always going to have a spot on a stage.
Yeah, and it goes to show you just how that works is I lived with the drummer that started the band with me. Do you
And that
remember
was
the band?
Chris.
Yeah, do you remember Cellgraph? That the
Yes.
grind band? Okay, so Cellgraph, Chris played drums in that band, and him and I played in God Harvest together, and we shared stages, all kinds of stuff. Our first show was with them, and Phobia actually was a great show, a Pete show, and we eventually became buddies. And he ended up moving back to the area in Tampa. Him and I started a band because he was like my roommate, and so we were just like, let's just jam in the fucking other room. We wrote the first demo in 2017 or 2016, I guess. Technically, it got recorded in 2017. So um, but yeah, so that's kind of how that all forms. And then I lost that drummer. The original guy I asked to be in the band never got a message about it. He finally got back to me, recorded the LP. He fell off, and then now with Gabe, our brand new drummer, who is now a year in, he came from Perdition Temple and he was the bass player.
Ah,
So
yes, I
this
know
is
you guys.
so it's like fucking a whirlwind of incest, just a fucking it's
Well,
everyone of the same people.
you did the first so the first demo you did was with Chris, right? And you also had
Yeah,
Doug. Was there and Chris and Doug, right? Was the first demo you
it
guys
was
did?
yeah, we were a three piece. It was Chris, Doug, and I. And Doug was in some like kind of doom kind of bands and shit like that. There's a band called Cosm that stood out. They were good. They were really, really good. And then Chris, obviously, Cellgraph, Dissevered, a couple of those other bands like that. He's always been all over the place. And then it kind of broke off after those guys broke off. I had a kid. They thought I was going to break up the band and just get the fuck out of there. But I was like, no, this is just a temporary thing. Everything's cool. Got the kid to about a year old and then started redeveloping the band. And kind of, I met through a couple other members that have tried to join and we tried to form. I met Arturo, who is our bass player now. And the bass player, he was kind of the first member I kind of found that stayed and really like clued in with me and clicked. And
And
go
he's from
ahead, yeah,
Guatemala, right?
yeah. He's
Yeah.
from Guatemala. He is I'm surrounded by all of the most Hispanic motherfuckers in the entire world, dude. It's crazy.
Well, and he
So
was also what a guitar player who did. You guys formed him into kind of turned him into a bass player. I had read.
I mean, yeah, kind of. He's a multiplayer as well, so he kind of dabbles in drums, and he just got his own kit recently, and so he just loves music, man. So he plays everything he can, and he's a great player. He's an amazing bass player for us, but he has the influence. He's like a human encyclopedia. So I love playing with him and talking with him, and we shoot the shit about. He's like the deep guy that knows like everyone's birthdays in a band. You know what I mean?
Nice.
He's like, he's talking about like, that's Rob Halford's birthday. I'm like, I don't fucking care, dude. I don't fucking know him. Not getting him a cake.
But
So
you guys, so you guys put out the demo in 2017. So where did you guys record the first demo at?
at our house that we lived at.
Nice. So you guys, I had read something that you guys had done. So when you guys did the full length in 2022, you guys had to
Yeah,
record it twice. You had a different drummer at that time, Joey, I guess the name was,
yeah,
and you guys
yeah,
recorded the whole
yeah.
record.
Yes. So what had happened was we tracked and we got through guitars and bass and drums. And I was just about to go in to do vocals and finish things. And the world kind of fucking hit the fan for him, and on a personal level, and it was like legal trouble with not very great shit. So I like immediately severed all relationship with him because we were pretty unhappy with how the actual performance of the record came out anyways. So I was already on the fence, and then that just like, I was like, fuck this. So we kicked him out, and like that day hit up Dustin. Dustin was like already on board. We already had the songs demoed. I sent him those things. I was like, learn this but better. And he's a phenomenal drummer, so he immediately grabbed it. We started playing a handful of shows with Dustin, and just kind of like immediately picked up and started kind of jiving and getting shit together and kind of learning each other. I've known Dustin for about going on 20 years now. So he's a longtime friend, or at least an acquaintance through music. So, but yeah,
When did you guys do your first official show?
it was around this time of year. It was like in August. No, actually, I don't actually remember, but it was in 2017. I don't remember. It was around this time of year though. It was like free fall, summer. But with Dustin, if that's what you're referring to, when we reformed was in 2019.
Okay.
So
And
it was
you
Arturo. Sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead, man.
I was gonna say there's. I know it's convoluted because there's a lot of members that changed. So basically, 2017 we released the demo digitally only. The guys left the band. I had my kid. 2018 raised my kid doing my thing. 2019 I get the shit back together and on track with Joey and Arturo. Then I basically get us going with shows and things like that through that 2019 2020. We all know what happens in 2020.
Yeah. Yeah.
The bomb hit and everything sucks. And so we got through that a bit, wrote and put the record together. And at that point, we really kind of hit the wall again. Was like it was very, very hard on me personally because I was just trying so hard to breathe life into this thing and just keep running into all these fucking problems. But um, the biggest thing was that being able to get Joey out and then Dustin immediately in helped so much. So we're looking at about 2019, or I'm sorry, 2020, 2021 at that point. Um, and that kind of puts us in the range of more modern us. So we go in and record in October of the following year.
And when you guys re-record that record, it has to kind of be a benefit for you in a way because you have
Yeah,
that.
hugely. Yeah.
You've already kind of did like the demoing of it. Basically, when you record it the first time, you can
Y-
listen now and say, "Hey, I don't fucking like that," or "I like that," or "I
y-
want to take this out." Right?
Yeah, there's a pre-production level, and I've done that before, but this was on another level, and it obviously was a huge bummer on the money side, but with label support, we actually pulled it out of our ass for there, so that was really cool. So once the LP was kind of talking about it and moving it and doing those things, we did get some support in the studio on the recording side, so that was great.
So you mentioned the recording side. You guys, first of all, you guys are on Blood Harvest Records, but you also release with what? Goat Throne Records and
So
Chaos
so
Records.
Goat Throne is actually out of Texas. They're phenomenal. He's been working with us since the demo, and he found us, which was incredible because it's like it just was like in the ether. So he just sort of randomly found the demo, and in 2019, as I'm reforming the band, he hits me up as we're about to have like a first show. And he's like, "Let's fucking put out the demo." So we put together. I had already gotten new art for it, or official art for it, and all that stuff, and basically rolled out the demo release and reinvigoration of the band in that 2019. So um, ever since then, we've started working with other labels as well to get a broader scope in around the world, because that's the biggest thing for me is that we don't tour. I have a family, so it's really important that we can get the music out as much as possible on a label support level. So Mexico, Chaos hit us up. he was like, "Hey, I'm really interested," and he only heard the demo, which was like, cool. He's on board. This is awesome on the demo, so we can't wait to show him this other stuff. Showed him that. He was like, he loved it, and then we really wanted support over in Europe. And so I was like, hey, let's try and find a label to kind of split this three ways. And although the logistical nightmare of that, what really did happen, it all came through, and Blood Harvest got on board, and we were fucking stoked. I can speak for myself; they're a favorite label of mine. And you know, everything he does, I always pay attention to. He's very purposeful. So if he picked us out of that, that was like a really cool move on our end. I felt great. So, and he's fantastic to work with. And he's still on board for the rest of it too. So, you know, as we have new stuff coming out, he's still interested.
Nice. You guys recorded what, the Home Depot with Dan Byers?
Yeah, Dan Byers. He actually plays in Wolfface. Um, and yeah, he's a phenomenal guy, and he's an old friend. We've known each other for a really long time, but he's a very, very good recording engineer. And so yeah, it was awesome. Recording with him was hysterical and fun, and he made it uh, just a good fucking time, which is really important to me. And he's like really open to ideas too, because I'm a fucking idiot and I love being in there. So it's great.
You guys also had Carl Dahmer do the artwork on the record. Did you have any
Fucking
input on that?
Carl.
On the art,
Did
you guys
did I?
like? Yeah, did you guys like say, "Hey, this is what we're looking for," or did you guys kind of
Yeah,
let them?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I would say 50% of the reason I play music is to the other 50 is to organize artwork, and so I'm pretty involved on the conceptual side of things. I mean, everything always has to do with our lyrics. We do real life horror. We do stuff that's I've had a lot of loss over the past few years, and I'm still going through a lot of it. So I have a lot of content to write about. So I typically use that as a thing. A lot of medical stuff. I have some sick family. I have some weird family.
Yeah, you have a.
I
I was
have
looking at some of the songs, man. You guys got like, but Deep Night was about someone you knew that personally had gotten murdered.
murdered. Yeah, yeah. A girl that I knew from work, and her name is Taylor, and mother of two, mother of twins. She got into some fucking shady stuff, and with the drugs and the lifestyle, and turned up dead in an alley in St. Pete. Her body was dumped, and they still don't have an answer on like an actual justice for her. But like just fucking like excruciating to hear about. But she was like suffocated and left in a fucking
What
alley.
year was that? Because I live in St. Pete. You know, I have a place in
Yeah.
St. Pete, and I remember when you. That's kind of like in that. I mean, we have shit happen there, but it's kind of news when something like that happens. And I remember, like maybe once
if
or
you
twice
look
hearing something like this.
if you look up, I'm not sure of the year. I kind of want to say it was 2016 because it was before the demo came out. So for me personally, I was just like, "Whoa, that's close to home." And so it's just I like writing about that kind of stuff. And you don't want to see that kind of fucking tragedy, man. Like, we can talk about this stuff all day, but it's upsetting and it sucks.
Yeah. And like
And
and
so
Golden Crosses too, right? That's a big.
yeah,
I'll let you explain that when I kind of
no,
get a
you could
gist of what it's about. It's about the
yeah.
priests, right?
Yeah, if you remember, I don't know, it was a huge thing in the news, and then Catholic priests have always had like this thing going on, as like the old shuffle that they do, and but they had this one congregation, this one diocese that essentially was operating as they were using gold cross necklaces to mark the children that they had like hurt, and then the other pedophile priests would then know that those kids were able to be taken advantage of. It's like gut wrenchingly fucking awful.
It's
Like,
awful.
it's
Yeah.
just so fucking awful. And so, I had a Catholic grandmother growing up that was very deterred, and when all of that stuff was in the news, she was so fucking disheartened. And I remember her, and being young, it just stuck out, is like, my grandmother is talking shit about the church. Like, what is this, And so I just very early on, I clued in, and it's always been important to me. So once again, it kind of made it personal. But yeah, so that's, yeah. Yeah.
You guys also did a cover of Troops of Doom from Sepultura. So for
Yes.
you, growing
Don't
up, what
tell
were
them.
some of the stuff? Yeah, exactly. What were some of the bands that, like, the heavier bands? When you started, first of all, do you remember the first record you actually had yourself? You had gotten as a kid?
First music that I ever
Yeah,
picked
first
out.
music. Yeah, whether
Oh,
it's
dude. Like, I
Metallica or
remember,
Kiss or
yeah, so I was never, I've always been sort of a metalhead, but I was actually more into I guess, like, early on, like, my first CD ever was like Green Day Dookie, and then Siamese Dream, Smashing Pumpkins. And ever since then, I've always gotten into heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier. And now it's just shittier and shittier and shittier and shittier. So, like, as my taste got more refined, it's also gotten worse. So inherently, I listen to absolute noise now. So, so
you grew up a
it's the
big
best.
Finnish fan, right? A big Finnish metal fan.
Yeah, to say the least. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I love the Finnish scene. The Finnish scene, the UK scene, the Mexican scene, in death metal. I wholeheartedly, basically, it created this band, and it was something that, like, I just heard something in that scene that wasn't really being picked up on. Like, people weren't, like, playing up on that at all. Like, I was like, how is this never talked so, Demolich, Dramolich, Demigod, just all, I mean, there's so many pertinents. There's so many fucking bands that were just incredible bands. And to me, death metal always represented to me something more heavy and more balls driven. And so, like, as that sound progress, like early Amorphous, and, like, dude, just some of the gnarliest, darkest fucking music that ever was made. Like, I don't fucking care who who has opinions about this. It's like, it's the darkest shit out there. And Phlegethon, and more thrash element, the early days, even that stuff, like Sacred Crucifix, and just, there's so many bands that just stand out as just, like, how are they not kind of at the top of the pile. And so, yeah, so tons and tons of influence from there. Mexico kind of took influence from them. So their scene is also grimy and fucking filthy, and all of their lyrics are about fucking cartels and killing motherfuckers, and it's
Yep.
violent. It's like all of the shit that I love about this music is all just in these couple scenes. The Midwest scene in the U.S. is also raunchy. You got fucking Death Strike and Master. You got fucking I love Corpus Ratus. I'm not sure if you guys are
Yeah.
fucking huge fans, but I love that fucking band. So there's certain ones that stand out more and more. Decrepit. So there's just a lot of, like, character in these certain spaces, and so it created a world for me. Convulse, World Without God, is, I always say, it's like sort of the reason this band exists. So, yeah.
What are some of the bands you guys have played with since
Oh,
2017?
we had an incredibly lucky year last year. And so we got to play with Deicide, Voivod, fucking, oh man. Like I said, we were talking before about, Swarmfest with Hibernus Mortis. Obviously you guys, Ed. We got a chance to play with, fuck, dude, so many. Oh, Deceased.
Yeah,
Fucking,
Deceased.
I
I
mean,
saw
dude,
that. Yeah,
fucking big one for me.
King Falley's the man.
Yeah, dude, king.
You know?
So, and I tried my best to like not give him the experience, but I wanted an experience with him. And I'm sitting out there. I'm not one to like rub shoulders for fucking no reason. I'm not that guy. So I like was out in the front of the mug after we played, or during like right after we played, before they played. He's out there looking for a fucking something to eat. So hey, King, go over there. This place rules. Like pointing out the Puerto Rican place. He looks at the menu. He's like, I don't know, brother. I don't know. And I'm like, well, what's the other option? He's like, I think I'm gonna get the cheesesteak. I'm like, all right. So it was cool. It's like, he's just a nice, warm dude, and so that was really cool and a great experience. But yeah, we've had some incredibly good shows. We just played with Skeletal Remains and Torture Rack out in Orlando. This year's been really bleak for shows, so we haven't really been pushing too hard, but we're writing and we have a brand new member. So we're doing a lot more in that space. So that's
good.
pretty
So
much.
what is the official lineup now of the band?
So it's Gabe on drums, me vocals and guitar still, the Arturo on bass, and then our new member is Emilio. He came from a band called Grave Ascension and Blood Ouroboros, and we've been friends, as long as we've been playing this kind of shit. So he's been awesome. He moved back to the area, and I tell people all the time, and I really do mean it. Like, I don't involve people if I don't need to. He is somebody I fully trust with writing and making and developing this stuff that we're doing in the best way possible. So I'm so excited. We're 3 songs into our new stuff, and we have more and more and more ideas that we're just shuffling off to each other every week. So pretty excited.
That's what I
Pretty
was going to
excited.
ask you. You guys working on an EP or a full length?
I kind of don't want to fuck with an EP. It just doesn't get the play that it doesn't get the attention that an LP does, and you put in just as much effort, just as much money, just as much art, just as much effort, and so it's kind of just like, I love EPs, but we're gonna probably do a demo, and that will come out public. We're not sure how we're gonna run with it, but before the end of the year, we're trying to get a handful of songs to record and do a demo of that new material. So we should have something kicking around by next year,
Do you guys have
early
any
next year.
Well, actually, I'm going to ask you if you have any shows lined up, but that's actually the reason we have you here tonight, too. You
Yeah,
guys are going to be doing
the only one. Yeah.
the only show, Swarmfest. We've been repeating this every week. Me and Ed are getting good at this. You got Saturday, November 3rd. You guys are 23rd. I mean, you guys are playing the same night we are, Generic Christ. And
Yes.
so it's your first
Great
Swarmfest?
Yeah, killer lineup. Not going, but yes, playing. Yeah.
Okay, so you guys are doing the Saturday slot. As I said, it's the only show you guys have booked. Yeah, man, that should be. We played Swarmfest. Ed, what was it? 2016, Ed. The Incantation, or was it? I think it was 2000. Dude, the years are fucking flying.
That Incantation show. Did you guys play the Incantation date?
Yes, we played the same night as them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got to see. I went to the Ulster 8 date and barely made it, and it was fucking amazing. And so I missed you guys that next night or the previous night. I can't remember. So
yeah, we played the same night as Incantation. It was a killer show. Swarmfest is a good time, man. Nick, he's going to be on here next week. Actually,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
let him know I said hey.
I will definitely, and he's been busting his ass on this, and then I know that he puts a lot into it. So it should be a good event, man. You have so we got a lot of bands on it, a lot of old friends, a lot of bands that we haven't seen in a while. So it's gonna be a good time, man. I think Saturday is gonna be a great night. Sunday you got Nasty Savage. I mean,
yeah. I know that he said that he got a little bummed. I made like a Saturday flyer, and he's like, "Hey man, we gotta fucking pump up the rest of the show too." I was like, "I know." But the rest of the days are awesome.
I think we shared your Saturday flyer actually.
I know
exactly which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I told him, I was like, I hope it's nothing personal, man. I just always like making my own flyers, so I was like, I want something special for each day,
Do we
So-
always made our own flyers for shows? Even if there was a flyer, we always made a one. It's just something we did. We very big on like the paper flyers because that's the way
Yep.
you did it back.
Yeah,
all the
yeah.
time,
I always make poster designs and stuff. So
Yeah, no, man. So yeah, you got that going on. Like you said, you got some new material coming on. And man, we appreciate you coming on the show. And of course, when you got new records, you can always you always got welcome to come on here and hang out, man.
yeah, dude, I'll let you know.
Yeah, we're where to find us at. And again, man, we appreciate you checking out the show, listening all the time, man. It's awesome. We can't thank you enough. And,
I'm an active listener, man. Absolutely, you guys are doing it right. I like that.
You can blame our wives for this shit because we used to, what are we, like 6,000, 7,000 miles away? Is that what it is? Something like that?
I'm always talking to music with my wife, and she's like, go talk to Ed about this.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, dude. You know what? I'll tell you what. If it wasn't for Messenger, we'd be broke because we wouldn't be able to talk because when you do the audio, we don't even do video when we talk. We do audio.
Yeah.
And I'm driving around or at the gym talking to him in Lithuania on Facebook. I mean, it's
all about music too. It's ridiculous, man. It's like
it's
well, what's cool is that like every time I listen to the show, I always get I get a kick out of you guys because you have like Tony, you have a vast knowledge of what you're doing. And you're well read. I can see you're a total fucking dork, and I like that.
Oh, total, dude. Yeah,
total dork.
Liner note, dude.
Ed holds it down on the discipline and like what's going on. I don't fucking
angry,
like this.
Man.
He's angry, and it's so funny because I'm just like, this works so good, and so I love the interview process. I love that you guys keep everybody along. I love that shit. So it's awesome. So I hope you guys keep it going, even if it's just for fun. Because it's fucking fun. So
thanks,
that's
man.
all that matters.
Yeah, we don't get paid for this, man. We do this because like a lot of the dudes that we're interviewing, we're fans of. Like, I mean, it's weird because people are always like asking me, why don't you bring like Rick Raj, you jam with him, or Terry Butler or Lee? It's like I could get them on, but it's like that's not a catch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I want to have them on when there's a reason to have them on. When they're like, Obi's got a new album coming out, or
I'll put this out there, man. One of the things that caught my attention in one of the other shows was the Hooded Menace dude. I was like, no one fucking talks about this band. They're one of my favorite goddamn bands, and they're undersung. Yeah,
we go out, and that's the thing is we don't go to a lot of times we don't go nothing against the publicists because some of them do hook us up, but basically like that one you're talking about with Harry, we went out and got it ourselves, man. Because we're fans of those bands.
Or
Destructor that's coming on
from Colombia. Colombia has a fucking their fucking scene is ridiculous. When we played there, like Lee was having problems with the drums, and he's like, "Dude, I'm about to bail on this show." And I'm looking out in the crowd in Bogota, and I'm looking at thousands of people who are going to stab us if we don't play. Like, I'm looking at 1,000 people that are probably going to stab us, and I'm thinking, no, we're playing even if we have to put a drum machine, and you're not there because their scene is. I mean, they live that shit to the full.
Dude.
I mean,
I'm like go to Miami. That's like, if you play Miami, they fucking do the same thing, and they're 4 hours away.
I'm thinking, man, I lived that shit when I was 20, 25. Now I'm just on autopilot because you've done it so long. You just go up on stage, you become the person you're supposed to be, and then when you leave the stage, you become you again,
We've been in bands our whole life, man.
We're actors. We're like actors, man. We put in a character and just do our thing, man. But it's fun.
Yeah.
And that's why we do it. Because if we were doing it for money, dude, my house would have been repoed fucking, that's how it works.
Yeah. That is how it works. But so dude, again, man, we appreciate you for coming on, Austin. And anytime, you're always welcome. You've got some new music, you can send it to us, and we'll talk. Yeah, we're going to see you actually in 3 weeks here. So
dude, we'll be able to hang a little bit.
Yeah, we're seeing you at Swarmfest, and we're going to actually on your way out here, we're going to play Worshippers of Death. You want to tell us what that's about really fast before we play this?
Sure. In a brief synopsis, this is probably the least personal song, but it's about went during the ISIS breakout. What was happening in the Middle East? There was one particular case where they took a pilot from one of like a Jordanian pilot or somebody that had crash landed or something. They put him in a cage and they lit him on fire and publicized that.
I remember this. Yeah.
And so we have there's video of it. It was brutal, and so we actually have a shirt design based off of this. That was designed off of that. So this kind of stuff is just like, it's just the human nature of it is just the important part of that, and it's about that kind of idealism that of like, hey, there's a lot of shit going wrong in the world, and there's like these dudes that literally were just like annihilating anyone they could publicly in just like at medieval times fucking style, like crazy as fuck. So it really struck me, so I wrote about it.
It's insane.
There you go. Well, Austin, again, man, we'll say goodbye to you in a second. Everybody else, this is Worshippers of Death from the Corporal Humiliation record. Oh, one more thing, man. Where can anybody go that wants to find your info?
VacuousDepths.com. I went the old school route and just got a fucking .com.
There you go. This is Worshippers of Death. We'll be back on the Tampa Morgue after this track. That's Vacuous Depths with Worshippers of Death from the Corporal Humiliation record that came out in 2022. And we want to thank Austin for hanging out in the Tampa Morgue with us. That was actually, Austin was a great guest, man. I'm looking forward to seeing him at Swarmfest. We'll be playing the same day with him on that Saturday. So,
yeah, no, he was very, very cool guy. Seems to have his shit
listens
together
to the show, so we have to, man,
Yeah, well, you gotta, yeah. We'll blow him. What the hell?
Yeah, but we totally appreciate him coming on, man. They're playing Saturday night, and we'll have him on again, I'm sure. He was, I've talked to him a few times. I know, like I said, he's a supporter of our show, so we're totally going to support that band. So we have Dallas coming on here in a few minutes, man. And Ed, I know, when we put this episode together, we have 3 bands on the same episode. Ed's going to have to step out actually for a couple minutes. So we're actually going to have Chicago Joe come behind the glass just to help me with the interview Dallas is on, but Ed will be on right afterwards, right when we get done with that. But we had Dallas on this. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Ed.
it would have been different if I hadn't talked to Dallas for, what do we have, 3 hours?
Yeah,
or something?
3 hours on the episode.
So, I would be a little more like, I got to, but.
Family first, man. You're always
gotta
here.
Run, do a quick thing, and then
family first.
But I'll be back for the Interceptor guys, so it's all good.
Yeah, Dallas, like Ed said, we had him on here. I don't know, it's probably 6 months ago or something. So you can, if you go to that show, you'll hear everything about Dallas. I mean, his whole career from when he was younger to obviously Nile, past Nile to Narcotic Wasteland. The whole episode you can find. It's back probably like 6 months ago. You can find it with all our other episodes. So Dallas is going to join us. Actually, I know he's going to call in here in a few minutes. And Ed, I'm going to let you do your thing, and I'm going to get Chicago Joe set up and get Dallas set up, and then you'll be back with us when we bring Interceptor on.
That is correct.
Okay, so while we're getting Dallas set up, let's play some more Narcotic Wasteland. Let's play the single Barbarian that came out in 2000. I think it was 2024 this one came out. So we're going to play that. And when we come back, we'll have Dallas on. Me and Chicago Joe will be talking to him. And we'll have Ed back on after the interview. So everybody, here's Narcotic Wasteland with Barbarian. We'll be back on the Tampa Morgue with Dallas Toller Wade right after this to talk about some Swarmfest. And that was Narcotic Wasteland with Barbarian, the latest single I think you guys have put out, Dallas, right? It came out in May, I believe.
Yeah, and then we recently just released a video for it too. Um, and yeah, it's being well received. I'm real proud with how the song came out, but I'm also just happy that people are really digging it.
Yeah, man, we really appreciate you hanging out again. We had anybody who hasn't heard the episode, we had Dallas on, I believe it was in May. It was episode 36. And we go over his whole history there. I think we went over every record he did, and we went over the whole from Narcotic Wasteland to Severn to like his first show at the Countryside Performing Arts Center. We went way back on that episode. So tonight we're gonna talk to Dallas a little bit. You know, he's gonna be playing a festival in Tampa that we're gonna be playing actually the show with him. He'll be playing Swarmfest. So Dallas, it's going to be good to have you in Florida. Florida's been pretty rough for the last month for everybody over in our area. You know, these two storms in a couple weeks, man, really screwing up the program. Actually, Chicago Joe's with us tonight. He'll be sitting in for Ed, and he lost like 3 vehicles in it. His
Oh
house
man.
completely fucked up. Yeah, it was.
Dude, yeah. Thankfully, all my amp heads, all my gear is either on, big shelves or casters and everything. But I had to gut my house, all the carpet. I had 3 cars get flooded out. Just, that led to a bunch of cleanup shit that had to be taken care of.
Oh
Have you dealt
man,
with
sorry to
hurricanes,
hear that.
Dallas?
Huh?
Have you dealt with hurricanes?
Yeah, nothing to that magnitude, but when I was staying in Robeson County, North Carolina in 1996, we had Hurricane Fran come directly into Wilmington all the way up into Raleigh. And yeah, it basically turned my life upside down. Um I remember my truck being slid into the neighbor's car and taking an hour to get to work because of all the trees down and all that stuff. And yeah, it tore up a bunch of stuff. Of course, not quite to the magnitude these last 2 hurricanes have done. Particularly, I know Tampa just got hit really bad, but the hurricane before that caused a dam to break up in the mountains of North Carolina, and it completely washed out a town called Chimney Rock.
North
So
Carolina, God, yeah, that was awful. I mean,
Yeah, I saw that town. That man, it's not even an exaggeration to say that it literally washed it away.
yeah, it's gone. Um, Parts of Asheville, which, I stayed in Greenville, South Carolina for many, 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 many years, full time, from 97 to about a couple of years ago. And in Greenville got hit pretty bad too. Greenville, Spartanburg area. Um, a lot of power outages, a lot of flooding, trees down, and even some mild tornadic activity from what I understand.
now, when you're staying, aren't you relocating? Because I know you were over in Carolina, but weren't you like? I think when we talked to you last time, you were in the process of moving.
Yeah, I've been staying up in Michigan. I live up here pretty much full time now. I still have some residents down in South Carolina at my brother's staying at, but and luckily there only thing that happened was a tree hit my mom's car, but it didn't do a whole lot of damage. Body by Fisher.
There you go.
It's an old G body, so it's pretty tough. Sad to see it get dented, but that's at least that's all that happened. You know what I mean? Like, but there were parts of even Greenville that didn't have power or internet for like 2 weeks, and it's just kind of crazy for the upstate of South Carolina or North Carolina that far inland, that far away from the water to receive that kind of damage. That's just crazy.
Yeah, and you can imagine like in Florida getting insured now is going to be a nightmare because I mean these short. It's getting. I mean, I don't know. The weather is getting crazy in Florida. It's every year the storms are getting bigger and faster. It's just it's would be interesting what's to come from that. Now, when you Carolina now, so you're in like you said Michigan now. So do
Yeah.
you now where is Kenji and Joe at for Narcotic?
Kenji lives in San Francisco and Joe lives in Denver.
Okay. So you guys basically are like trading files right now and kind of like do you guys get together and jam like very often or is it kind of obviously less now, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, we're all good at like self-rehearsing when it comes to playing shows and stuff. And we do have a couple of demos circulating back and forth. And basically, for the fourth Narcotic album, we've already got a couple of songs we've been working on, and basically, I just sent Joe the guitars, and he sent me back his drum ideas, and they were working out quite well that way. I haven't done it that way in a long time because typically I'm just like, here's a demo, learn the song. And usually I have like programmed drums and kind of everything ready to go. Now, the programmed drums, I'll try to keep simple and basic. It's really there just to give you an idea of what I'm trying to do with the song. So I'm always welcome. Eric Schultek, he's always adding some really cool fill work and spins on everything, just to beef it up a little bit. But moving forward, I'm really digging the ideas that Joe brings to the table. So probably just going to be sending him guitars and letting him handle it from now on. And, you know, uh, the same thing with Kenji. I mean, I give him the tablature for the riff ideas or whatever, but he's going to put his own spin on it because he has a very unorthodox way of playing anyways.
Yeah, and I've heard you say like you really love this lineup, right? I mean, with Kenji and just
Yeah, I mean, this is the best the band has ever been for sure. Just hands down the level of professionalism, musicianship, and teamwork kind of attitude is it's just never been this good for me.
and Kenji does some of your video work, right? Too, because he has what Tsunami Films.
Yes, yes, yes. He does really great work. He also turns really great work around really fast, and he's just a very inspirational dude, man. He's just inspiring to be around. He's always got creative, clever, and fast ideas. You know what I mean? And we've been able to do well the pretty much all the videos since Victim of the Algorithm. He's done everything for us. And our agency, my agency, she's been using him for advertisement videos for shows and tours and stuff like that for years anyways. It's funny because she was telling me years ago when I was having lineup issues, she was like, you need to get Kenji.
It worked out.
And then finally I was like, well, you know what, I'm going to ask him and see if he's interested, and he was. So
It's you guys are now you guys have the album done already, the next album, right? So I know that is that going to come out? So I know you guys are going to leave for some dates. Are you guys putting that out before before the dates, or are you guys going to put them out during the tour?
well, that was the original plan, but the real reality to the whole thing is that I can be pretty terrible at planning things, number one. Number two, um, in order to put out an album and have PR ready to go on it and have the label ready to pull the trigger on it, that takes some planning. So even if I delivered it completed to them tomorrow, which damn near close on. I really just need to finish up one more song. Um, I'm just brushing up on some of the lyrics on one more song, and it'll be done. I mean, the album has been written for a long time, but I just decided to put it on the back burner a little bit because we were getting tour opportunities. Our label slash distribution was saying, it'd be better if you would just release some singles for now. And, I was started getting touring offers, and I was like, well, we've got 2 albums out. Nobody knows who the hell we are. Let's go tour because that's going to help get the word out and all that. So, yeah, I've wanted this album out years ago, but other things come up in life, and not necessarily bad things, but, things happen and you just kind of have to pick your battles. And I thought it was a better idea at the time to solicit the band a little bit more on the live front. But, it's most likely not coming out before we do this tour, but it is going to be out very soon. This time, I 100% promise everyone. I'm already getting like some YouTube comments on it. It's like, man, when this album was supposed to be out first quarter of 2023. I'm like, well, yeah, stuff happens, and it's just how it is. But I'm
Now,
excited.
do you have the
I'm
album art
happy
already
with
done?
the huh?
Do
I'm
you have the
sorry.
album art already done?
Yes, yes, we've had the album art done for a long time, actually. I'm very excited for people to see it. It's
You can tell us who did it, or you gonna wait to share the artist?
that's Santiago.
Okay.
Yeah, he did our art for Morality and the Wasp single. He's done a couple of things for us over the years, and he does a really great job in his, even though there is a little bit of a communication barrier sometimes, the stuff that he comes back with, I'm just like, oh my God, that is so sick. And I would have never thought of it, you know? So
You
we're
guys
real
have a
happy
working
with the
title?
way it comes out. I'm sorry,
Do
say it again.
you guys have a working title for the record?
Yes, it's called Digital Cordyceps.
So and you guys already have, so you have that album done, and you're like you already said, you already have like 3 or 4 songs done for the next record, right? Which the fourth one.
Yep, yep. And that's just because of the whole bottlenecking that happened with anything from COVID to all of a sudden we're getting tour offers and then lineup changes. And then, with one of the lineup changes, we lost like 3 songs that would have went on the album. So, I mean, some things that just happens, and me, instead of being like irritated about it or whatever, I'm just like, well, what do we do now? Okay, well, we've got this new lineup. Let's go tour now that things are opening back up. So yeah, and
Yeah,
yeah, man, we've already well into the next one. I'm really excited about it, and I'm just ready for this third album to be out. I'm just ready. At least we were able to put out 5 singles in the
hell yeah.
intervening time, so that was good.
Yeah, because you guys put out Morality and the Wasp in 2022, and then you guys put out The Best Times Have Passed in 2022, right? And then
Yep.
2022, The Algorithm, and then 2023, Sex, Lies, and DNA, and then the one we just played before you came on, Barbarian, would be the fifth one of that. And you mentioned promo. Like, so when you guys put out the first record in 2014, right? You guys didn't have much promo for that. You guys just kind of winged it on that.
Yeah, we just self-released it. I've we pretty much financed it and self-released it, and the only promo that we had was just at the time really just Facebook and Instagram, and even just with that little bit, and the fact that I was still currently in Nile or whatever, we were able to move quite a few units right there in the beginning. It was pretty good, pretty surprising. And of course, I was able to sell some of the CDs while I was out on the road as well. And so that kind of helped. Considering that it didn't have any push, it was it was pretty damn well received.
You guys go through what? You guys have distro through Megaforce?
Yes. Yep.
So here's a question for you. Do you think labels, because I heard a couple people talking about this recently, do bands need labels anymore? Like, back in the 80s, obviously 90s, it was a very big thing. But now these days, do you think, what is your opinion on that? How important a label is for a band to be on? Is it just a name to have clipped to your name, or is it actually beneficial to most bands?
It can be beneficial for sure. I can say with a lot of certainty that trying to do something 100% yourself is it can it can go very well. But if you do have someone like a label who's willing, as far as giving album budgets for recording and stuff like that, I mean, that's kind of gone by the wayside. And most people have the capability to record fairly professionally on their own. But one of the things that a label can definitely help with is that PR and getting your. They're going to want your music to sell. So having somebody that's going to help push you, that's always beneficial. And what we have with Megaforce is basically a distro deal, even though they have done some very label courteous sort of things for us. Um, I'm not opposed for us shopping around to some labels at some point. Just and it really is just for having that extra hands-on and extra reinforcement, just to help promote your band and help get you on some shows, stuff like that, stuff that when you're already busy writing and dealing, talking with your agent or your manager or whoever, that's already a full-time job right there. And then you
Wow.
throw on the top of the fact that we're expected to, be content creators on social media, which, at first I was a little irritated by all of that. And I still don't personally know how I feel about that. But I will say this, that this is just the way things are, and you live, adapt, or you die. So I've been trying to figure out that angle as well, and trying to make it fun for the people watching or listening, but also make it fun for me because, well, I don't know about you. If when things stop becoming fun is when I don't want to do it anymore.
I was going
Oh
to ask
yeah,
Yeah.
you,
man.
are you like, so now with, obviously, I know there was a period where you were thinking about retiring from music in general. You thought it was pretty much going to be over. I don't know, I think that was like around maybe the 2014, 2015 time period. Now, are you like having more fun than you were having back then? Like, 'cause I know like you said with the lineup with Kenji and Joe, you have the perfect lineup with the band right now. And I know you guys, which we're going to talk about, actually, you guys have a lot of stuff coming up. I've seen you guys book some shows in Florida, actually, that I didn't, that this week also, besides Swarmfest coming up within this year. Um, but personally, are you having like the best time you've had in a while with this lineup?
Yeah, actually, I would say with this past tour that we did, just as a trio, even me and Joe and Kenji, I mean, that was probably one of the most drama-free tours I have ever done in my life. And but I mean, everybody has their ups and downs about their life and career choices, and I'm very much bipolar in that regard. Sometimes I'm just like, screw this, I'm tired of it, I don't want to do this anymore. And then literally 30 minutes later, I'm dancing around with my guitar, banging my head, saying, "This is great." So I can't really I can't really judge myself on any of that because I'm just such a damn just Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Jackass about everything.
So
you know,
and I wanted to add, so go like speaking of that, like is it like obviously what the underworld awaits us all, the Nile record. Did you have no, since you were with that band, do you have to go listen to that? Like I would think you'd have to go like, okay, this album comes out. Did you sit down and listen to the record or?
no, I did check out a couple of the singles though.
Okay.
And I thought they were pretty killer.
And,
I mean, if I had any critique at all, it would have been the vocals, but I thought the music was really solid.
yeah.
And yeah, but no, I don't really feel the need to check out what they're doing. We're just kind of more interested and more busy with what I'm doing. But yeah, definitely checked out the videos and the singles that they put out for the last two records, and I thought they were pretty good.
What was your favorite tour with Nile that you did with them for you personally?
That would be a tough one, man. We definitely had some good ones, and actually, all the tours were good. There was only like one or two times that a couple of things happened due to someone else, um, another personnel in another band or something like that. So uh, I would say that I really enjoyed our tour that we did for Annihilation of the Wicked in Europe. But also, moving forward, after or right when Sethu was going to release, we did a festival tour in Europe. And before we did the festival tour, it was our first time going to Ukraine and Russia. And that was really cool. I enjoyed that very much. But that was a very good tour. Very good camaraderie in the band, a lot of teamwork, a lot of laughs. Um, I had some crazy personal stuff going on in my life at home at the time. So the guys really helped, and I just had a great time on tour any damn ways. And
And you,
yeah,
that's the way to do it.
that was a memorable tour, but there were a lot of good ones. There was the one that we did in Europe years later for Unearthed, and we we Suffocation was opening for us, and we were sharing the same bus in Europe, and that was fun. Those guys are super cool. Had a great time, just shooting it with Terrence and talking about guitars and amps and stuff. And he's a super cool guy. All those guys were cool as hell, and we had a great time together.
And you mentioned Annihilation and Setu, but that was your Annihilation was your favorite record that you were on, right? On the Nile period.
Yeah, I think Annihilation. It would be a tie between that one and maybe Those Whom the Gods Detest. To me, I just think those albums that just really hit on all cylinders, like, really super hard. I don't think we necessarily ever put out like a bad record. I'm actually one of my students right now. He told me that his favorite record is Sethu.
And that's
And
your
I was
least
like,
favorite, correct?
yeah, that's my least favorite. And that's fine. I mean, there were still some good songs and stuff on there. I just didn't feel like it had the cohesion that some of the other albums had. And the mix was kind of weird. And it didn't have that classic wall of Nile guitars like the other albums had. But we didn't want to make the same album over and over again. And sometimes you got to take those risks.
What was the hardest Nile song for you to play?
Hardest Nile song to play. Papyri containing the spell to preserve its possessor against attacks from he who is in the water. That's up there. Burning Pits of the Duat is up there. I'm going to be doing a playthrough of that song pretty soon, so I'll get to revisit all that. Also, As He Creates, So He Destroys. That's another one that's really tough, man. But I'd say those three are the top three.
Okay. And and you mentioned we are talking about with obviously shows and stuff like that, and we're going to talk about the whole. You guys are playing. So I'm going to mention. So first of all, last time we talked to you, you guys were just about to go on to the Sex, Lies, and DNA tour in July. I think it started out in Nevada, and I think you guys ended up in Ohio on that tour. You were on right before that, and I saw. So you also booked. I saw the other day for January. You guys booked Mount Mora Music Hall with Deicide, Venom Inc., and you guys.
Yep.
Is that going to be like? Is it a festival? I haven't seen. It's the first time I saw this date when I saw you guys on there, and I hadn't even heard of this show yet.
I think it's going to be kind of like a festival in a way.
I think Nasty
There's going to be
Savage is
quite
on
a
there
few
too.
bands on that.
Okay, 'cause I saw Nasty Savage on there, and like I said, Deicide. And you guys are also going to be playing. So you guys are what? So you guys are leaving. You guys are leaving town. You guys are playing Swarmfest last on this. So you guys are playing how many shows prior to that?
I think there's like 2 weeks worth of stuff in there. We got Texas, I believe Oklahoma for the first time in a while. I'm excited about that. I think are we going to Mississippi again, right? Yeah, okay, we're going to Mississippi. My agent / wife is sitting over here right beside me.
Oh, hey, how you doing? We won't keep them too much longer. Don't worry.
10 shows. 10 shows? Yeah, okay.
10
Yeah,
shows.
I need someone to tell me. I just show up with my guitar, man.
You guys are playing Swarm. That's the way to do it. You guys are playing
Yeah.
Swarmfest at the Brass Mug, which is going on November 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. And that has Nasty Savage is playing that. Actually, we're playing that show. We'll be on that show with you guys, me, Joe, and Ed, our band Generic Christ. And there's Pessimist is playing. Promethean Horde is I think there's up to 30 bands. And you guys are playing on the Sunday with Nasty Savage, correct?
Yep.
And you guys have a show, but the day before that, are you guys basically going to be there the whole weekend? Or are you just getting in for the Swarmfest gig?
We may try to get in there a little bit earlier and check it out. You know what I mean? That would be cool we'll become, well, that'll be kind of a trip, but we may as well go ahead and head that way since we'll be coming from Mississippi. That's Long Beach, right? That same spot? Yeah, that place is cool. I dug it. We played there earlier this year with our buddies in Whore of Bethlehem. And that was the first time I'd ever been to Long Beach, Mississippi. My best friend from high school, he lived in Oxford for a while, and I came out to visit him. But the Long Beach is beautiful, dude. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, this is really nice.
Yeah, I've never been there, actually. I've never been out there. You guys were in Tampa, what, last year? You guys played the Mug in Tampa?
We played the Mug earlier this year, yeah.
Or this year, okay. And so you guys have the Swarmfest and the other show we were talking about over in Mount Mora, the music hall. But what else do you guys have going on after that? You guys have more touring planned for the rest of the year? You guys going to finish those dates and worry about getting the record out?
Yeah, I think that's going to end up being what the deal is. We're going to be hearing some stuff about Europe very soon, I have a feeling. And that was kind of the goal. We'll probably have a little bit of downtime. Unless we get a cool offer or something like that, we'll probably have some downtime and just concentrate on um, getting prepared and kind of padding up monetary wise for a European trip. You know, you don't want to just go to Europe empty handed. You want to have some, some credit cards and stuff in case shit goes bad. You have to get out of the country.
Oh
You
yeah.
know,
These days, you
Hey,
never know.
Dallas.
yeah,
I
you
want
got
to.
to be prepared.
Yeah, definitely.
Speaking of Swarmfest, and you talked about gear briefly. What kind of amps and guitars are you going to be using?
I'm actually, I'm not going to reveal anything yet, but I'm actually talking to a guitar company right now that might be endorsing me. I'm going to hear back
Oh,
about that.
nice.
If that doesn't happen, then I will be playing my good old tried and true PV Triple X with my Marshall amp, my Marshall cabinet, and a couple of Jackson King V's, and that's
Nice.
probably going to be about it. I got them outfitted with the Seymour Duncan JB Jazz sets, which are absolutely my favorite. Um, and in on I don't even live. I haven't even been using a pedal lately. I've just been plugging straight into the Triple X and turning the gain down. So when I turn the amp up, I don't get a lot of feedback or anything, but it's still enough crunch and gain to play the songs. Um, with the more normal tuning that Narcotic has, it's a lot easier to get a really aggressive yet clean kind of sound. So I've been really digging on that. And the Triple X is just a really great head anyways.
It
And
is. It's really overlooked. I actually have one. I used it for about the first 3 4 years I was in Generic Christ, and um, I mean I've used other PVs, I used some Mesa Boogies and Orange now, but that PV Triple X is an unsung hero of the PV line, I would say.
yep, and I have two of them now and they're sitting in a nice rolling road case. Um I bought one actually on the last tour that we did because I don't know if you remember this or not. The previous tour, I was celebrating 10 years of Narcotic Wasteland, but I was also celebrating my 50th birthday.
Yeah.
The first gig, birthday boy spills a cocktail in top of his amp, and
Oh no!
I had to borrow a 5150, which was fine. It did great. Um, and then I basically just bought some contact cleaner and cleaned up the amp real good. It's fine now. I fully serviced it and it's ready to go. But just as a backup, I went ahead and I saw an offer. A guy in Texas had one. He brought it out to the show, and I played on it. He put it through the paces, and I was like, "Yeah, man, take my money." So now I have two of them again. I had one before, but I ended up selling it, and so now I have the two triple X's for live and two Marshall cabs for live in case we go with a second guitar, and they don't have an amp. And then for my pre-production at home, I've been using my PV Windsor, which is also another unsung hero. That's very Marshall JCM 800 like. Um, it's a
Yeah,
one-trick
that's
pony, though. I mean, you're not definitely don't be trying to get clean tones out of this thing because it's not really for that. It's just a single channel of just ripping, and you just dump a pedal into it, and it just does the thing. And just perfect for demoing, and it's what I'm going to be using for my playthroughs and stuff on the Dallas Solar Wade YouTube channel, which I'm going to start doing my Nile songs that I did and stuff also eventually that predates my time with Nile. Some really old songs I'm going to bust out. Go ahead and do a playthrough at them. I was really surprised and excited that those things were getting so much attention.
Are you
So
doing
yeah,
weekly? Are you posting
just
weekly
gonna
on there?
try to do them weekly. Yeah, it's probably going to be like bi-weekly. But another thing that I'm gonna do, the other night, we've been trying to just get all my social stuff sorted. She's been helping me a tremendous amount, trying to get all this stuff going on. And one of the things we did is I just randomly went live on TikTok and played a couple of songs. So on the YouTube channel, either the Narcotic channel or on my channel, we're going to, in the next day or so, I was going to do it tonight, kind of busy tonight, but I'm going to go on and just run the set list and answer questions and stuff. I think that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, people do love that. And well, we're actually gonna let you get out of here in a few minutes, but I did want to mention one thing. So, is it true you used to play drums with your dad at a jazz club when you were a little kid?
Yeah, actually, it was more like a blues club. We used to go to this place called Libs, and it was like a private club. And he would sit in and play bass and play the blues, and I would sit in on the drums, and we would just kind of blues shuffle all night with some salty dogs. Um, I wasn't really supposed to be drinking back then. I think I was only like 12, but I wasn't a normal 12-year-old either. I was already almost 6 feet tall. Nobody even bat an eyelash to see me walking around in a bar with a drink in my hand.
As you're with your dad,
And
right? And he was a hog farmer too, wasn't he?
yep, for many, many years, and then the government shut the farm down, and then he opened up a mechanic shop, and I would work there with him from time to time.
Well, cool, man. Well, Dallas, I know we're gonna let you and your wife go out and do your thing tonight. And like I said, you're gonna be playing Swarmfest, which we're definitely looking forward to seeing you. That is November 20. You guys are playing on the 24th. You guys are playing on the Sunday, and you guys before that, you guys leave. What was the date you guys are leaving? Before that, you guys were, like you said, you're playing Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Mississippi, and I think November 15th you guys leave.
Yep.
Correct? Okay. Well, Dallas, we really appreciate you giving us your time, man, and coming on the show and hanging out for a little bit. Like we said, we have a whole episode with you. We have like 3 hours with Dallas, episode 36. You guys can go back and listen to. And we talk about everything from everything Nile, everything Dallas before he was even jamming. So go back and check that out. We just wanted to have him come on tonight, talk about some of the shows they're going to be playing, the Swarmfest show. And Dallas, when you have the new record out, man, we'll have you come back on.
That sounds great, man. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you guys.
Same here,
Good
man.
luck, man.
Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you. We'll see you in a few weeks in Tampa.
Oh, yeah, dude. I'm super stoked for that. I can't wait. And some of the bands, I want to see Nasty Savage, of course. And I'm excited about seeing some bands hanging out, talking about music and metal and gear and having a couple of beers, man.
You saw what happened to Nasty Savage's gear, right? They got all their shit out. I mean, yeah, not good. But yeah, we will see you then, and we're gonna say goodbye to you 1 second, Dallas, and we want to thank your wife too for hanging out for the 30 minutes with us here, and we're gonna play "Victims of the Algorithm" from Narcotic Wasteland, and we'll say goodbye to Dallas while you guys listen to the song. We'll be back on the Tampa Morgue after this track. And that was Narcotic Wasteland with Victims of the Algorithm. And again, thanks to Dallas Toller Wade, who's always a good guy with us, man. Asked him to come on, said no problem. Was going out with his wife for dinner, I believe, or a movie, and gave us a call from the car and hung out for a while talking about Swarmfest. I want to thank Chicago Joe for helping me out there. Ed is back with us, the one and only Ed. And we're going to have another band on. Like I said, 3 bands tonight, man. Interceptor is going to be joining us in a minute. So this is the youngest band I think we've ever had on the show, Ed, coming up.
Yeah, I would say so. I think the youngest member is as old as my daughter.
Yeah, it's like,
She's
what,
18?
18? Well,
Yeah,
no, I think Blake is 20.
Yeah, the youngest I said. The youngest person.
No, the
is
youngest
18.
one, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and that's, I wish there was something like this around when we were kids, because who knows what would have happened, if you could have got a little more push. Because, I don't know how many people listen to this. We get a shit ton of downloads from what I see.
Yeah, we do damn well.
So if a band comes on here like Vacuous Depths or Interceptor or whoever, local bands from obscure, like when we had Blood Serpent or Witch Trap, maybe people have never heard of them.
And Witch Trap, I was amazed how many downloads. I mean, they're great. We said it when we had him on here too. Same thing about the band Destructor, who was on last week, actually.
Right.
Like, fucking killer band, man. And they have a following, because I was really surprised to see how many downloads they got from around the world. It's just, for some people may not know who they are, but man, killer band, so.
And if somebody tells somebody, say, hey, listen, I listen to this show that I follow, and man, they had this killer band on, and then that's how shit spreads. You know what I mean? So if whatever this is that we do, help somebody, awesome. You know what I mean? Because that's what we're about. We're about music. I mean, I wish more people bought into our shit, because
I wish I was a kid and some guys were getting a hold of me being like, well, obviously there was no such thing as a podcast back then. It was like,
that's what I'm saying. But
yeah, you might have had a magazine, like an underground magazine, which we actually were writing for these things like 20 years ago.
Right.
But we didn't have that kind of stuff.
I remember one.
Yeah, I know. I'm the one. I made that. Yeah, I made that possible partly.
You
did. That actually. Nick Goodyear too, who's coming on next week. He was also with him. He was with Passive Possession. They were on the cover too. So We used to do. Whoever doesn't know, there was a magazine out many years ago called Rivet Rag out of Tampa, Florida, that I was pretty much the head writer for at the time. Jack Radinsky was the founder and the guy who put it out. But it was a print zine. We did it for probably 3 years, 5 years, I think it was. Which now I think about it, and man, it was coming out all the time. It was. Eventually there was color pages. When it first started out, before I was with it, I remember seeing that magazine, and it was like pages stapled together. So it progressed a lot in the 5-year period that it was around. I know Jack put all his own money into it, and just tons of money. There was ad money, but it's like anything else when it comes to this kind of music. You're always pulling out of the pocket.
Well, it looked real deal. It looked real deal to me. I mean, I still have mine, so it's preserved, because I knew. That may be the only time I'm ever on a fucking cover in a magazine. So I took advantage of it.
That was with Contorted, right?
That was, yeah.
Man, time flies. Yeah, that was the Rivet Rag magazine. I'm sure some people who listen to the show that we know have some copies still, but it's been a long time. I do have a box of them over in Florida. So, I still have the old copies of it. But yeah, Rivet Rag magazine. But so Ed, I know, like I said, man, long episode, 3 bands. We appreciate everybody who's listened. We're going to have now a band from South Carolina coming on called Interceptor. Big new wave of British heavy metal influence, first wave of black metal, big, definitely you hear that with this band. We're going to have the 3 members of that joining us in a minute. So let's get set up for them. And anything else you want to say before we get them set up?
No, I'm anxious to hear what they have to say. I want to hear what the youth of today has to talk about.
Yeah, and we'll finish up the show. We're probably only going to hang out after the Interceptor interview for a few minutes because, we, like I said, we've been recording for the last 2 weeks all the time, getting set up for the November shows. So we'll probably hang out for a few minutes at the end of the show once Interceptor leaves, but we're going to get them all set up, and we're going to play, let me see here, Witch's Dance from the Tales of Mayhem record that just came out this year from Interceptor. We're going to play, and we'll get them set up. It's going to be Blake, Elijah, and Johnny. And we'll get all that going, and we'll be back on the Tampa Morgue with Interceptor after Witch's Dance from the Tales of Mayhem record. We'll see you back on the Morgue in a few minutes. Doing good, man. Doing good. We want to talk to you guys for a little bit. I know you guys are playing Swarmfest over here in Tampa in November. Talk a little bit about the band first, and then we'll get into the Swarmfest performance. But so when did you guys started in 2022?
Oh, that's correct. Yeah. Well, so technically, I mean, back in high school, I'd always had renditions of a band. I had, I'd sit there and just doodle different logos and band names on my notebooks instead of paying attention. Um, and then eventually I settled on the name Interceptor and found my first fellow member in 2022. It was my buddy Baylor. He was the original bass player. I was on guitar and vocals. Eventually found a drummer. And then, just a few lineup changes had to be solidified just because I didn't really have very many committed people in the beginning. But, yeah, now our lineup over the course of 2 years, finally putting out our first record with the most stable lineup, most committed lineup we've had yet.
Yeah, and you guys, so when you like, obviously we started doing the interview and we had a little bit of problem with the sound. So I already know you guys don't come from musical backgrounds. But when did you guys start picking up the instruments?
Man, I was maybe 6th grade.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I was like 14 when I got my first drum kit, and from there I just started playing and building myself up from then.
Yeah.
That's it.
For me, I was about 10, almost 11. My brother wanted to play guitar, and I did not want to, but my mom made me. And then I got better than my brother, so he quit, and I stuck with it.
Yeah, funny enough, my sister learned how to play Happy Birthday on the guitar, and I just couldn't let her be better than me at anything. So that's what made me pick up the guitar. I didn't even listen to music at the time. I just wanted to be better than her.
Do you guys remember the first music that you guys really heard that you kind of hooked you, whether it be like, on the radio, AC/DC, to anything from, do you think the first thing that actually caught your attention?
I was sitting outside of a Pizza Hut with my dad, waiting on the pizza to be made. And I've been playing guitar for like a month right now. I didn't really care. And then Thunderstruck played on the radio. And I was like, yo, Dad, who's this? And he was like, this is AC/DC. And then ever since then, I just discovered AC/DC, then like Guns N' Roses, Van Halen, then got into like Metallica, and the rest is history.
Yeah, it's similar for me too. I think I just started to play growing up, just these different, just classic rock songs and stuff. And then I never paid much attention to it. And then eventually one day something just clicked in my mind, and I actually started listening to the music, and I was like, all right, I like music now. And then started listening, AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, and some Black Sabbath. Slowly started getting heavier and heavier, then got to like Metallica and Loudness, and over time, just kept getting heavier. It's funny because years ago I even started, getting super into death metal. Almost started a death metal band, and I ended up dialing it back. Where now most of what I listen to is like new wave of British heavy metal, American power metal, and some first wave black metal.
Yeah, so my dad, he raised me on like old school metal, old school rock. He was around that back in the 90s, back in the 2000s, built Pantera stages. He was all in the music scene back then. Anyways, when I was about 4 years old, he turned on Kiss, and that was the first rock band I listened to. And they caught my eye ever since. I had little Kiss dolls when I was like 4 years old. And that was one of the bands that got me into metal, that got me into rock and roll. So
Maybe actually the youngest band we've had on here. We've had, shitload of bands on here, but what's your guys' ages? You guys are like in your 20s?
I'm 20.
I'm 18.
And I'm 18.
Yeah, he just turned 18.
Yeah.
Right before. Well, I know. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And you guys, obviously I've checked out you guys out, and I know you guys played in Tampa. I think it was either this year or last year. And you guys are definitely
both, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys definitely have an old school sound, man. I was actually checking out your videos and stuff. I know you guys have a couple of videos out and everything. And when I found out your guys' ages, I thought it was kind of a trip because I was like, you guys are playing like stuff that we grew up on. Me and Ed, obviously there's a big Venom influence with you guys and Tank and stuff like that, and the first wave of black metal and stuff. When did you guys start finding your way towards that kind of music? Because we all start out with the gateway bands, right? You talk about like the AC/DCs and the Sabbaths, but when did you guys start digging deeper?
Well, so what happened was the Interceptor originally started out as just straight thrash. Like the biggest influences starting out were like Exodus, Sodom, and Metallica, just kind of like straightforward. It wasn't nearly as heavy as Sodom, even though I wanted it to be. But as I started listening more to them, I wanted more to sound like them. And I was like, well, I guess I can sound more like them if I listen to, who influenced them. So I started I was like, okay, let's see. Saddam's favorite band was like Venom and Tank and stuff. I started listening to that. I'm like, man, I enjoy this way more than the music I currently listen to. And just ever since then, I've been way less onto thrash metal and just way more onto like the Venom, Tank, just any of the old school British metal. And then from there, I was like, you know, this is the kind of music that I really want to play. It just has such some of the thrash. It just has it's too on tempo. There's not enough of a rock and roll feel to it. I like being able to, you know, play, you know, crazy stuff, but also be able to like have that sort of rock and roll, feeling to it. Just because a lot of the thrash metal that just loses it.
Pretty much.
It was, it wasn't. It was right before our first single too that we really started to like change that sound. That was Christmas of last year. So we've really only been all, you know, the leather and spikes and stuff for, you know, 12, 18 months.
Yeah, because you guys were definitely like more of a thrash band when you first started, and you also had like I listened to an interview you had done, or a Reddit interview. I don't remember what it was, but you guys are definitely fighter jet themed at first with the name.
That was kind of what it started out as. We had so this game that I used to play growing up, Ace Combat Zero. It was like my favorite game ever. I've been playing it since I was like 4 years old. I figured just so we kind of stood out from the crowd a little bit, I was like, oh, maybe if we theme ourselves after like fighter jets and stuff, just because, like you got At War who plays just war themed metal. You got some other bands that do, you know, something gimmicky. I didn't know any fighter jet bands, so I was like, oh, yeah, let's do that. And I mean, we've still got a song that reflects that, but we literally changed it from the old just straight thrash sound to the new, you know, Motorhead, Tank, Venom influenced sound that we have now. And it still reflects that period, just lyrically and everything else about it.
And when you guys first started out, when was your guys' actual first gig as under the name and scepter?
That was April 27th, I think, last year. It was like one of the last Saturdays in April of 2023, and that was with definitely not the original lineup, but that back then was with our old guitar player and a old drummer who only played one show with us. And the show went great. It was a great turnout. The drummer said it was the most packed he'd ever seen that venue before, and especially for two brand new bands that night. It was both of our first shows, only two bands, and it was packed out like crazy. But yeah, that lineup fell through pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think I had read something. You didn't have to kick out the guitar player or something like that. You guys lost a gig. You guys.
Yeah, we were supposed to play in Wilmington, North Carolina, as our second out-of-state show, and I'm not going to get too into it, but he started getting ridiculously rowdy, and like, you know, ruining it for everyone. And then he had to get kicked out of the venue by the venue themselves, and then we had to, like after that, I was like, okay, I'm not going to have this happen, especially, you know, that was a 3-hour drive for us. I was like, I'm not going to go on a whole tour and have this happen. So I kicked him out shortly after.
How is this? So in South Carolina, how is the scene over there?
No, it doesn't exist. I mean, there's like, there ain't nothing. It is like, even when they have like the most, like, let's see, who's like Anvil. Anvil came and played. Obviously, they're not huge, but they're kind of a band that's, you know, legendary in a way. They came and played, and we've played a bigger show in South Carolina than them. They came, they played to 30 people. We've seen I know Havoc just played in South Carolina last night, and it looked like their crowd was maybe 40-something people. Some other bigger acts have come through, like Jeff Tate's band. They came and played at like the biggest venue downtown, and it was like maybe 60 people. It just, and those are the more like heavy metal centric, thrash metal, old school centric bands. If you talk about even the core and deathcore bands, you know, they have more of a crowd, but it's a lame crowd. Just you know, all the people with the huge gauged ears and giant septum piercings, and, you know, just crowd killing and doing all that crap. And it's, you know, I mean, we want everyone to come to our shows, but that's just not who we promote to. And, you know, we don't want to be a band that kind of sells out just to, you know, get anyone we can at the show. We, you know, want to mainly cater towards our kind of scene, and that does not exist around here.
You guys, did your first demo, the Thrashing Violence, in 2022? Would you guys record that yourself?
Yeah, so funny enough, I had recorded that demo after the other guys had left the band, the original lineup. The bass player, he had to go off to college. The drummer just would not practice at all. So the drums on that are actually a drum machine, and then the guitars, bass, and vocals are all from me. I credited them in that just because I didn't want to be a solo project, and I figured I'd get more respect, or Interceptor would get more respect if it was, not a solo project. I didn't want to have like all the credit for, writing everything, just because I don't know. I feel like these solo projects, that's all they ever get known as. Like everyone knows Bathory is just Corthon's band. Everyone knows Hell Ripper is James McBain's band. And it's just like, I never wanted Interceptor to just be like that.
Now, when you did the next demo, the Nuclear Devastation, is that the same deal? Because I know you played bass on that too, right? So
I played bass and guitar on that one, vocals too, but we actually had that drummer who played our first show with us. His name was Lumpy. Nickname was Lumpy. He played the drums on that. That one was funny enough, we recorded the drums just by setting my phone flat on the ground about 5 feet in front of the kit and just press and record. And it's pretty evident by the demo.
And do you handle all the lyrics in the band?
Yeah, I do. I mean, there's a little bit of a change over the years. It started out as kind of pretty basic, pretty just like pizza thrashy, and I've tried to slowly make it, a little bit more thought out, but not exactly poetic in any sense, but just more. With everything I do, I try and make it fit the music. There's so many bands that try and make their lyrics super intellectual, so many bands that try and make their lyrics just very, like gore themed over the top. And I just try and make sure that it fits whatever we're doing.
And and you guys mentioned, so you guys released a compilation, right? In 2023, you guys did both the first two demos. Is that re-recorded or is that the actual?
Those are just the two demos. I didn't like the original covers for the demos. They just look way too like pizza thrashy. So I just wanted to, redo the demos and also just kind of like slap them together, because we also got cassettes made for those, like a little small run of cassettes. And so I just figured it'd just be easier to, send out just like the two demos on the same one.
And you guys kind of go with the whole DIY thing, right? So is Blitzhammer your guys like basically what your label is, all your recordings go under?
Pretty much, yeah. Just for now, I figured it would. What it does too is because a lot of promoters and venues and stuff, they will not respond to bands directly. So I was like, well, I mean, if we've got a record label front, and like a booking agency, because that's what Blitzhammer basically functions as a, it's kind of like what our music is under, and then also like what our booking goes under. So having that right there, it looks more professional to some of the venues that just will not hear out bands and only want to hear from booking agencies. But other than that, I mean, it's kind of just, it's nothing real official about it. There's no LLC. It's just kind of, it's our thing. It's the same thing as just slapping our name and saying it's Interceptor Record Company.
And you guys fan base is pretty young, right? Because I was reading some stuff, and you guys are basically like, obviously me and Ed, we're in bands we've been playing forever, and we kind of, we do the whole death metal, thrash metal thing too. But you guys actually, your fan base is a much younger fan base than a lot of.
Oh yeah, definitely. And, I've heard a lot of people say, like, oh, well, that means they just can't buy merch. They can't do all this. Like, they're not going to be flying out to your shows. And I'm like, well, the reason why I like that is because our last show in Tampa is a very clear example of how this age group reacts to our music. We play around here and we have an older crowd, and they just kind of stand around with their arms crossed and just don't do nothing. Compared to our last show in Tampa, we had like 30 kids up on the stage with us going wild. Like literally every second, even when we weren't playing, there were kids jumping off the stage and going wild. And I mean, even these kids too, everyone's talking about, oh, they can't buy your merch. They can't do that. Some of these kids were, buying everything they can, which I can only imagine they worked super hard for, being in school and having to get, like a part-time job. And they're using that to, represent us and support us. And, these kids, they have a level of dedication that some of the the different age groups don't really show to bands anymore. Just because they have these older groups, they have their bands that came out around that time that they'll always be diehard fans for. I guess for some of these younger groups, we're like that to them. The same way that 60-year-olds would be with Venom, some of these younger kids, we're their Venom because, some of these bands they'll never be able to see. They're only playing huge stadium tours now and only out of country. They'll never be able to afford it. And by the time they can, some of these bands will be, passed on. But so we'll be around for them. So I think that kind of sticks with them a little bit.
Do you guys see or notice even the European fans? I've noticed. I was also reading some of the stuff on your guys' videos. You guys get a pretty good following from the Europeans. Do you guys get a better response from there than the United States, you think?
Currently, it's been kind of hard to gauge because the pressing that we did for Tales of Mayhem was only domestic, so we have not been able to get records or tapes or anything really over to Europe. So a lot of these European fans are waiting on it, but it seems like they're more eager to get their hands on it than some of the American fans. I mean, as far as I've heard, they go harder than some of the American cities. I've heard a lot of the European ones, they go pretty wild. And yeah, even when I think it was even when the Thrashing Violence demo came out, I had some guy tell me from over in Italy, he's like, yeah, I just went to a metal festival, and between one of the band's sets, they played 2 of your songs off the demo. And this was months after I put that out. So, I mean, they've been on to us, I think, even longer than the American scenes kind of have. And they've always seemed to kind of sit around. We haven't, like I said, we haven't been able to gauge it too well because of the records not being able to be sold over there just yet. But as far as I've seen, the European fans, they do go pretty hard for Interceptor.
And you mentioned the full length, which we'll talk about, the Tales of Mayhem you guys just put out. But you said that your lineup wise, so Elijah or Tyrant, whatever, you came into the band, 2024?
Yeah, this year it was probably around May. And then I recorded the whole album in May, right in Tampa. And then he just mixed it all together and
mixed the whole album in one night, which it's kind of evident by the record, but because of a few issues with the guy who recorded his drums, the guy was getting wasted in the studio and messing things up. And then so I was listening to it all, and I was like, oh, this is wrong. So he had to get back into the studio 3 days before the album came out. So, yeah, he finally got them tracks over to me. The guy was actually sober enough this time to be able to record him correctly. Got those tracks over to me. I mixed them all in one night, which, like I said, you can hear it on the album. It was mixed in one night, and I also don't have much of a clue of what I'm doing, but I tried to make it work. And then, 3 days before it came out, that's
like you had said, you had trouble with the drum tracks, right? What you guys recorded to the wrong demos or something like that?
Yes, for I think 1 or 2 of them, we sent over the wrong demos, and so they had recorded a different version.
I think it was Hatred.
I think it was Hatred. And that's why, too, it was recorded on a different day. And I think the guy who said it, he didn't set the presets right. So when I mixed it all, I mean, I don't know too much. I don't have too much equipment to do, really good mixing. So that's why Hatred's drums are actually a little bit louder than all the rest, is because
it's got more tempo to it.
Yeah, I mixed everything pretty much to the same settings, just figured, because everything else sounded pretty much the same, but then Hatred, I guess, it was a little bit louder when he sent it over.
You're not a fan of modern production, right?
I'd rather have crappy old school production than clean modern production. It's just it's lifeless. I think metal is supposed to be like a raw, unpolished, rusty knife. It's not supposed to be like a clean kitchen knife. It's just, I just can't picture it being something like that. All these obviously all the modern core and deathcore, metalcore bands, they do all that. But what I especially don't like it is when it's like a band that wants to have an old school sort of sound and reflect an old school genre, and then they have a super clean, just polished sound, and it's it almost takes away from the music. They can sit there and they can play and sing as loud and dirty as they want, but it sounds like I'm listening through, it just, I don't know. It does not hit the same as hearing something that sounds like it was recorded on a reel-to-reel tape machine back in an old studio or recorded live. It just doesn't hit me the same way. So I figured, there's a lot of people out there like me feel the exact same way. So I figured, we'd be a band that doesn't do all that. We won't cater to just the average, audio file who just wants to listen to the cleanest music possible. We want to play our music loud and dirty for all the real headbangers.
And you guys also put out some videos. So who does the videos for you guys? I was checking out some of those.
For the videos, we got just our girlfriends to take the videos just from our last show, just after everyone kind of emptied out. We just got a few with our setup real quick, just some quick footage, and then, we recorded some B-reel just days after. I did the editing, once again, like in one night. I tried, there was a few things that happened here and there with the videos, so I had to kind of edit around a little bit, and, some of them turned out all right. I think the Wehrmacht one turned out much better than the Sorceress one, but I pretty much do all that just straight from my phone.
And Sorceress that's the latest single you guys just released?
Yes, that is.
So, and you guys have another album in the works now, or?
Yes, we do. We have another album in the works. Don't want to say too much, but I would like to say that it's coming mid to late spring, which will be less than a year after Tales of Mayhem. Sorceress is going to be a standalone single. Standalone single. It's got the vinyl exclusive B-side, Just Like Lightning, just extra incentive. People want to hear that song. It's a killer Motorhead tribute track. But Sorceress is not going to be on that record. It's just a standalone single. I figured we'd put something out, just leave it with its own little pedestal.
And for the people who haven't heard you guys, how would you, if you had to explain your sound to the people who have never heard of the band, how would you do that?
Well, what I would let them know is Tales of Mayhem it's definitely a heavy, heavy tribute to Venom, Motorhead, Tank, Warfare, just all those, British bands that just had that raw, dirty sound. It's a very heavy tribute to them, and you can hear that and see that just with the imagery and everything about it. But Sorceress is kind of a shift in a new direction that we're taking. Me and Johnny, Mr. Reaper, somewhat recent, not somewhat recently, but just in the last year, we've also been getting heavily into U.S. power metal, old school U.S. power metal, and
that will be shown.
Oh yeah,
on the album too.
It's gonna be shown through, and what's crazy too is combining together the sounds of U.S. power metal like Manila Road and Omen with bands like Venom and Tank, but also throwing in just the slightest little bit of just southern dark atmosphere through, some sort of I can't think of any bands that really do it like that, but I just say imagine Evil Blackfoot, Evil Blackfoot, Evil Nazareth, just little bits of that thrown in there. Pardon?
Oh, go ahead, man. Go ahead. Continue.
I'm saying, it's pretty much, I was thinking to myself before, I don't want to bother trying to do anything new. I just want to, just make the music that sounds good and just kind of, make the music for that, which we've got a record for that now. We've got a record for the people who don't want new. They just want everything. They want songs that their favorite bands never wrote. And that's Tales of Mayhem. That's what that record's for. But going forward, music we're wanting to put out, I think it's going to reflect something that hasn't really been done before, at least in the way that we're going to do it.
And Johnny, you joined 2003 also? What was your before that? Were you in a couple bands?
No, actually, this was my first ever band. I've written a lot of music just on the computer at my grandpa's house, but I played my first show March 19th, I think, and March 9th, and it was pretty shitty.
It was bad. It was a bad show. We had a fill-in drummer named Doug, and I think this is actually, but he's a nice guy. I think he just gotten a little, wasted at the show, because when we had practiced our last practice before the show, he was actually decent. But at the show, man, I literally think that this is the reason that the local turnout is not great anymore.
It was the biggest Charleston show.
It was bigger. I Hate God had come and played the same venue, and it was bigger, if not, it was about the same, if not bigger than that crowd. And this dude was messing up every single song so bad, you could see on my face. Thankfully, there's no video. Someone's going to upload a video. You can see on my face in some of the videos. I'm just
We just wanted to get off that stage as soon as possible. It was
we cut the set list short by like 4 or 5 songs. We
and now nobody comes to our shows in Charleston.
Yeah, it's I think it's quite literally the reason. We saw people walking out. He's saying,
my little brother was at the show, and people were behind him saying like, "Oh, these guys don't have any clue what they're doing. What the hell?" And just walking out like,
and then
bad rep.
And then just I think less than a month later, about a month later, we opened for Artillery out in the middle of nowhere, and we had about like 50 or so people come out, which is maybe like 50, 60 for this small roadhouse venue out in the middle of nowhere. It's like out in the boonies in South Carolina. Nobody comes through. When I found out Artillery was coming there on a Friday night, that was like, it blew my mind. And that show was if any of those people had gone to both, they could very well see, okay, it was the drummer screwing them up, because that show went great. I think we did great with that one. I think we impressed some of the people that came around. And then ever since then too, we've had good shows. Like, we've always had good performances, but because of that first one in Charleston, I think people think we all suck because of that drummer.
Well, you guys even did a little mini tour, right? I know you guys did. You guys did a mini. So Tyron, are you the reason how did you guys wind up going to Tampa a couple times? Is that because you're there? Did you set up the shows at the Mug and stuff?
I would promote the shows and like hand out flyers and have Tyler from Midnight Vice. I would tell him to promote it and put it in the Tampa group chat and just promote it as much as possible. And
he's asking like, are you the reason that we played in Tampa?
I don't know if it's the reason. I mean, they played in Tampa a year before, and
that's right. You were filming them, weren't you, or something like that? Like, that's how you guys.
Yeah.
Well, we set up in Tampa just because we knew it was the death metal capital of the world, pretty much. And I just figured, it'd be the best place to do our first out-of-state show. So that's where we went last year. We played with Corrupted Saint, Shining Wizard, Ramtha, and Othelon, local black metal band. And it was a killer show. We played at Born Free Pub and Grill. I think like just a month or so before it closed.
Yeah, it just shut down.
And it was a killer show. There was a ton of people packed in there. Like, I tried to get into the bathroom at one point, and you had to walk like that past people just because it was so packed for this tiny little place. But people went crazy for it.
That's how we met.
That's actually how we met Tyrant, is he was there in the crowd. He was excited to see us. We started just talking from there. And then later on, I started seeing his videos when we were having some trouble with some of our other drummers, and I was like, man, this guy's pretty good. Like, and I don't think he'd be opposed to joining the band, and had to wait till he had graduated from high school, and then after that he joined up, and I was like, yeah, we're gonna go back to Tampa because Tampa crowd was better. It was better than anywhere else we've played so far. Went back down a second time, and once again proved to be the best crowd we've had.
Like, Tampa just seems to love us. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's a very, very active crowd. They definitely deliver each time.
Well, you guys will be back in Tampa. We're actually playing the show with you guys. I think you guys are playing on Sunday, though. We're talking
That's
about
right.
Swarmfest. Yeah, Swarmfest, November 22nd till the 24th. And you guys are playing the same night as Nasty Savage.
Yes. I'm excited for that. I asked them if they need any gear borrowed, just because I know a lot of their stuff got destroyed in the flooding. They said they're good for that. They're borrowing. I can't remember who the band is. I think they're playing that night too. But that should be good. Yeah, the guy gave us an option. He's like, "So you guys want to play on Saturday or Sunday?" And I'm like, "I want to play with Nasty Savage. I want to play that day, man." That was the kicker. When he told us about the festival and he said them and Nocturnus and Pessimist were playing, I was like, yeah, 100%. We're going down there for that.
Are you guys going to get down there? So you guys can get in there on Sunday? Or are you guys going to get there for the whole festival on that weekend?
We're going to try and get there early on Saturday. Hopefully we can make all of Saturday and, of course, all of Sunday, head back home on Monday. Because, I'd love to catch a bunch of the killer bands.
You guys are playing, I think, let me see, I had your guys' time slot written down. You guys will be basically like 7:55 to 8:25 on Sunday. That's the 24th. And you guys have so anybody who wants to find out more about Interceptor merch, get some merch and stuff like that, what do you guys have set up?
So, we'll have for the festival down there, we'll have patches, CDs, cassettes, LPs, shirts, an assortment of shirts. Yeah, we'll have it all. We try and do. I mean, we're a band too. You know, there's a few that all just want to do CDs for everything. I was like, man, I like records and tapes the best. I figure a lot of the headbangers that love us, they love the records and tape the best too. So I figured.
I know you guys have a younger crowd. What are you guys moving? Cassettes more, or are you guys moving the records more?
Funny enough, it seems like they go about the same pace. Every time we've asked, we did a poll asking about if Sorceress should come out on 7-inch or a tape or like a single, and they were saying it was literally a tie down to like 500 votes for each. It was like between 542 and like 550 on the other. So it seems to be, you know, they like the same amount. The cassettes and LPs, we had about half as many on Motor Punk Records, but those went about twice as fast as the LPs. So, I mean, it's kind of, it's like they're going the exact same rate.
Hey, man. Well, we definitely appreciate you guys coming on and hanging out. And when you guys get the next record on, man, we'll have you guys on. We'll set up, you know, whoever. We had a little bit of problems with the sound tonight a little bit, but now we got dialed in, man. So, you know, we got you guys set up. But once you guys put out the next record, man, we can get you guys on here and do a full episode. And we're going to see you guys in a few weeks. I'm sure we'll see you guys on Saturday and Sunday at Swarmfest.
Definitely.
You know, and we appreciate you guys all hanging out on the show. And like I said, man, we're going to play actually Sorceress, the new single that you guys just put out. And man. So anybody who wants to check these guys out, they'll be playing Swarmfest on Sunday, the 24th. Interceptor, you can check and find them on Instagram. And we'll be playing them on here. And this is Sorceress from that. And guys, anything else you want to say on the way out?
Go listen to it. Go watch the video. Be there at Swarmfest. Catch all the awesome bands. We'll see y'all later.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. We'll say goodbye to you guys in a second. Everybody else, this is Interceptor with Sorceress, the new single. Back on the Tampa Morgue after this.
When the clock strikes midnight 12, beware the Sorceress.
was Interceptor with their latest single, Sorceress. And we want to thank the guys from Interceptor for hanging out on the Tampa Morgue, giving us a little bit of their story. They'll be playing on Swarmfest on Sunday. They'll be playing with Nasty Savage that night. I know they're, as they were telling us, they're very excited about that. But South Carolina band, young band, man. But yeah, we appreciate them coming on the Tampa Morgue. And Ed, that was a long episode tonight. Well, not even a long episode. We've had way longer, but that was a packed episode of a lot of information.
Yeah, because you have things coming from 3 different bands that do 3 different things. So,
Yeah.
And it's crazy because you got a Dallas from Narcotic, who's been in and he's been doing this forever. And he's South Carolina, right? I think.
He moved now. I think he moved. He's moving, in the process of moving, so he is Carolina. But I think he's moving. I want to say Michigan. I believe
maybe that's what it was.
Too. Yeah,
I think it was. And then you got the South Carolina guys who say the scene there is dead, which is crazy because I played Ground Zero in South Carolina. I want to say at least 4 times I've played there, and every time it was packed. But of course, I was on big
yeah,
shows,
it was a tours going through.
So that may be a little different, I guess. But yeah, and then of course Austin, very cool cat, and it was great. I believe if you want to learn about bands and people, this is how you do it. You interview them. They don't always have to go long, and of course we couldn't go long because we're trying to fit all these people into one episode, so it's real difficult to do that. And they don't have an extensive catalog, the Austin and the Interceptor guys, so it worked out perfectly because we already did Dallas for 3 hours, so we didn't need to take him long. So it was great, I mean, this is how we do it. I mean, like I said, I wish we had this available to us to be able to learn about band. I mean, imagine if you could have learned about the ins and outs of Slayer or Venom. Or
you had to search for that shit. Like
we had no internet.
Yeah,
you had to look through magazines like Kerrang and Hit Parader or whatever the ones even were for. What was it? RIP. That was the metal one.
RIP. What was it? I mean, not even like extreme music, but I think of all the magazines back then. It was like Kerrang, Circus, Cream.
Yeah.
And I'm not even talking about like Slayer and magazines like that. Like not even the band, like the actual magazines, the underground magazines. Like
right.
But there was Bloody Knuckles. I remember that was actually, Bloody Knuckles was actually a pretty big magazine too, if I remember. That was like pretty packed with information. Metal Edge. Like I said, some of these don't even cover extreme, but just in general. Rolling Stone, I always thought that was kind of, I don't know, that wasn't really,
rock. That was rock centric.
Yeah, and it was very corporate in a lot of ways. But there was that now I don't even know if there's a shitload of magazines out. I
couldn't
don't
tell
know
you
what print ones are actually out.
It's crazy. I remember when we used to go to the grocery store, you'd go over to the magazine rack, and you said that, and I'm in my mind. I was just thinking the last time I was at a Walmart, or I know
Barnes and Nobles used to have a good selection. I remember.
That's a bookstore, but I'm talking about you used to be able to walk into any grocery store and there was a magazine rack on one of the aisles.
Metal Edge was always there, if you remember.
Yeah,
Circus.
all of those were there, and I'm just thinking, I don't even know that I.
Hit Parader. Here's another one for you. Hit Parader was when we were kids. Was out.
I can't tell you that I've seen a magazine rack in any store, anytime. Like I honestly can't. But then again, I don't go to the book section if there is one, so I don't know. But I know there's still magazines because people buy like gun magazines, because it has all kinds of stuff, and they buy golf and sport magazines and shit like that. So I'm sure there has to still be music magazines somewhere. In my head, it used to be prominently right in the middle of the store. You'd walk down this aisle and there were some books, like little paperback books for the mom to read, the sexual desires,
that porn behind the shelf.
Yeah,
7-Eleven.
Yeah,
Melons or whatever.
Yeah, even at 7-Eleven, you would go in there and find your magazines. But I can't think of a store besides a bookstore that I've seen magazines in. That's crazy.
I remember going to 7-Eleven, which I know you remember this too, because you're actually even a few years older than me, and you would have video games there. You would go into 7-Eleven, Rolling Thunder would be over in the corner, or Pac-Man, or Space Invaders, or whatever the hell, get it. But it was always like arcade machines in 7-Eleven. At least in Jersey, it was like that.
Oh, yep.
I always wonder though. Now I'm like, would you rather, and I'll ask you this question, because I would actually say print magazines, even though we do a podcast, I'm going to be honest. Would you rather be on a podcast, or I don't know, I thought it was pretty cool if we've been, Generic Crisis in a couple print magazines in our history, and I always liked having it in print because I always felt like it lasts, not that it'll last forever, but again, it goes back to the albums or the record covers. It just seemed like the physical product. And now it's been replaced with YouTube. You can go watch a million different podcasts or a million different interview shows and stuff like that. I think I was more of a fan of, personally at least, being inside of a regular magazine or a print, just because it was physical, it felt real, even though its podcasts are real too. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a tough one because, we've been in the technology age for quite a long time now. You get so adapted to it. You wonder if, now if you go back in time and, I don't know, man. I mean, I agree with you 100% because, I always say the whole Mark Wahlberg rock star thing when I had pictures of, Death and Rick and Terry from Massacre on my wall and fucking all Slayer and Tom Araya and all that. When you were younger, you had those pictures on your wall. You know what I mean? And I don't know if people still do that because there was no, you could buy posters like for certain bands, but you couldn't get everything. And the fact that, you would find the extreme stuff like Glenn and Deicide, and you would see those crazy pictures of him on stage with the spikes and, that was a
from
cool
Milwaukee
period of time.
Metal Fest. I know exactly what photo you're talking about. I believe.
Yep.
Well, I still have it. You could, people who don't, obviously we don't do video, so you can't see. But actually, behind me, Ed can see. I have posters from high school still from some of those, like Kiss posters or X Hoarder or Deicide, but they were all from those magazines. This one I have behind me, I believe it might have been. Let me see. It was Kerrang or not. It's the old Deicide when the first album came out, the promo posters. I used to take those, and I used to take the long boxes and make posters out of the CD long boxes because, people who are a little bit older remember those long boxes. And when you couldn't find, back then you couldn't go find when Slaughter and the Vatican came out, you couldn't go find an X Hoarder poster too easy. Or when the first Deicide record came out, you weren't finding posters of those albums really. So you made them out of your long boxes, So that's, it's a different time now, man. I don't even know, it's funny because I was thinking with the Interceptor guys, man, we could be their, like they're that young where you could be their dad. So can I, it's nuts, but that's a whole different, and that band, when we were talking to those guys, their fan base is like 14, 15, 16, and 17.
Yeah. Most of those kids may not even be able to get into real shows, especially here. We have we have shows that are all ages, and then we have some that are 18 and up, and those kids wouldn't, and think about it. There was even some clubs back in the day that if you were under 21, you couldn't get in because of alcohol. So that was
and
weird.
These guys are playing basically they're playing the Venom kind of. I mean, it's pretty much it's, as you guys just heard from the two songs we played, it's a very big Venom influence there. A very big first wave of black metal influence there, and the new wave of British heavy metal influence there. And they're so young, so I mean that's a promising thing, man. And they do the whole look and everything. They got the the bullets and all the spikes and all that. So but I'm glad they joined us, man. And like I said, me and Ed, this is the episode. We never had three bands on. I don't even think we've ever had two bands on the same episode, have we?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So, we did it for Swarmfest, and again, Swarmfest taking place. We're not going to go through the whole list tonight because we're going to have a whole episode next week with Nick Goodyear on here, which I would guarantee that's probably going to be a pretty damn long episode. Very casual. I know we're all just going to be hanging out bullshitting. And like Ed said earlier in the show, probably when we did the intro, I believe, Nick's has his own history from Promethean Horde to Dark Faith to Passive Possession. So a lot to talk to him about. He also does Precision merch. And what else does he do? He does that, and he obviously Swarmfest. So we're going to talk about that whole festival coming up. So that'll be next week. But we want to thank every band that joined us tonight. Interceptor, Vacuous Depths, and of course Dallas. Dallas, like I said, always a humble guy from Narcotic Wasteland. And Ed, so everybody again who listens, we're this month, November, we're going to be bringing the shows up to Swarmfest. There is a slight chance that me and Ed will do one episode from Florida after Swarmfest, but that we're not 100% on that yet. So if not, we will definitely be back the second week of December when I return to Europe. And we'll keep everybody updated on all the, like I said, we have an episode next week coming on, so maybe we'll know more by then.
Might do Instagram live from the show.
Instagram live from the show. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff we have in the works. We're already starting to work on stuff for when we get back to the actual routine in December. And some of the stuff we're working on could be really awesome. Some of the bands we're trying to get on here.
Might even nab a couple guests from the big bands while we're there. If they're interested
that I'm definitely don't you I mean that's pretty much like I'm pretty sure that's going to happen while we're there.
I know, like I've said it, I've already talked to a couple of guys when I did shows with them, and they were more than
they all said they'll come on in a heartbeat.
Every one of them say they'll come on, and I'm trying to make it to where it's beneficial for them, like a new record coming out or something they have, so it kind of coordinates with why, so it keeps them current. I don't mind bringing anybody on, we've talked about Rick, Terry, all these guys. I could bring them on, but if they're going to do a tour or they're in the process of doing something like nailing Terry down is that's insane because he's in 500 bands and he's never home. Are
they home for Swarmfest? I wonder.
I do not know. They're in Europe right now with Sepultura doing their end of the road tour there. So,
because that's the one thing about Tampa, for those who don't know, and Ed will verify this 100%. What's cool about Tampa is like when we do Swarmfest here, which will be in 2 weeks, when you guys listen to this show, like it's kind of like you go to the Brass Mug and everybody's there. Everybody who's in town's there. You see so many old friends, so many guys. For me, it's kind of a trip because of course now I've been doing this for a long time, from print magazines to this show now, or playing with these bands a million times, or not. You get used to it. You don't get like, oh my God, there's this person. But it is a trip that a lot of these guys that you see at the Brass Mug on these shows are guys you grew up listening to, and you're like we were saying, you're looking through those old magazines and there was like Steve from Deicide, and then he's hanging out at the club, and you're not like totally mind blown because this is a normal thing in Tampa, but it's a cool thing, man. And sometimes I do appreciate that. Like I remember my wife when I first took her to, I don't know what band. We went to go see Nasty Savage, and it was her first time in Florida, and Corpse Grinder was there. So the first thing she sees when she walks in the door is George Fisher, and she is like, for her coming from Europe, and the first place she steps into, he's standing there. She's like, oh my God, that's, Corpse Grinder. She got a picture with him and stuff. For us in Tampa, it's kind of the norm to see these guys.
Well, I toured with them. So for me, it's when I walk in, it's a shake and a hug or something, you know what I mean? And how much the Broncos fucking suck.
Yeah, they don't suck as bad as my team, unfortunately.
No, they're actually doing good. Everybody gave Bo Nix they shit on him, and the kid's actually performing very well. So I got to give it to him. But
just fuck the Chiefs. No, I hate the Broncos, of course, too. But fuck the Chiefs. I
agree. I am. I hope the Bucks smash them tonight.
Yeah. So that's right. Mayfield, obviously, people may not know who this is, but Baker Mayfield has done a good job with the Tampa. So, and I'll be out in Tampa, obviously I'll be at December 8th, I believe it is. I'm going to see the Raiders, and it's going to be a long day, I have a feeling, over at the Raymond James Stadium in Tampa against the Bucks. So,
Well, you fly out the next day, so it's going to be a long ride of misery and hell.
Yes, we leave back to Europe the next day, and I'm pretty sure that unless the last time I was at Raymond James, which was actually in the Vegas, or it was Oakland at that time, actually won, and Derek Carr had actually thrown for the most yards ever in Raider history that Sunday, and the Raiders had also accumulated the most penalties ever by any team in a game, and they won in overtime. So it was actually a good time. I have a feeling this time might not be as fun. But,
Yeah.
I have a feeling it's not going to be as entertaining. But, again, everybody who listens, Ed, anything else you could think of? Like I said, we got another show coming next week, which is going to be a long show with Nick Goodyear. So, we will have Tampa Morgue shirts at Swarmfest, too, which we'll talk about next week. But we will have some Tampa Morgue shirts there available. Very limited amounts, but we're working on that now. We will have new Generic Christ shirts there. Is there anything else, Ed, you could think of?
No, I'm just ready to get in the jam room with my guys and get this show
Make
on the
some
road,
noise.
man. Again, and this is no dig at Swarmfest because obviously we're playing it and we love Nick, but man, I've said Swarmfest so much that it's kind of like when you just something just keeps going on and on. You're like, okay, let's do it and let's get it done, man. Let's get it going.
2 weeks, man. 2 weeks.
Yep.
2 weeks.
Yep, it'll be great, man. I don't want to rush a good thing because obviously you're only here for a limited time. So
a lot of stuff in the works though after that. So we have a lot of shit going on besides that.
Yeah, we do. We do a lot.
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on. So, and a lot of stuff on this show we'll be doing. This is just episode 66, which is, I have to admit, like I said, if our episodes were half an hour long, I'd be like, okay, 66. But our episodes are far from that usually. So we've put a lot of work into the show, and we appreciate everybody who listens. And again, we appreciate Austin Thomas from Vacuous Depths for showing up tonight. And I apologize early on. We were saying your name wrong for a while. Dallas Toller Wade and again, Dallas, cool guy to the show. He'll be back on again, I'm sure, when they put out a new record. And then the guys from Interceptor from South Carolina. So we appreciate everybody. Also, everybody remember King's X tickets. Go to Instagram. You can win them on there. You get a pair for December 5th. You can check out all our old shows, right, Ed? You can find it was a whole 60-something shows with guests on there. Everybody from Snowy Shaw to Chris Reifert to Gene from Angel Corpse to Art the Clown, David Howard Thornton, and Hell Witch, Pat from Hell Witch. There's just tons of shows on there.
You'll see it all. It's all in a row. It's all
Glenn from Destructor. Killer episode last week, man. Glenn, from Australia's the first band.
First podcast ever.
First podcast ever. He gave us his first interview on a podcast, so that's killer. We hung out with him for that was another 2.5 hour episode, maybe.
It was over 3 hours.
Over 3 hours. So, so we, we'll be off for a couple weeks after Swarmfest, but there's plenty to listen to, and who knows, maybe we'll stop back on. But everybody, we appreciate you always listed. You can find us on Spotify and everywhere, right? Pretty much streaming.
Yep. thetampamorgue at gmail.com for emails, which we will,
read the next episode with Nick. We'll probably plug those in at the end before we take off.
Yep. If it's not 5 hours.
If it's not 5 hours, which I think it may be 5 hours.
Maybe
I'm sure
it could be.
Nick's probably getting the beers ready right now. So
sure he is.
But everybody who listens, we appreciate you. Instagram is the best place to get a hold of us. We do have a Facebook, but we need to get a little bit better with that. It's just, we're not big social media guys. But like Ed said, thetampamorgue at gmail.com. Send us, you can send us shows coming up or send us your new releases coming up. We've been trying to read releases every episode when we can. And we appreciate everybody. Ed, I think we're going to get the hell out of here now.
Let's do it. Bring on the King Fowley.
King Fowl. Bring on King to lead us out of here. And everybody else, we'll see you next week with Nick Goodyear from Swarmfest, Promethean Horde, a bunch of other stuff. So we appreciate you listening. And Ed, I'll see you very soon, man.
See ya.
This is King Fowley from Deceased, and you just listened to another episode of the Tampa Morgue. Tune in next week and stay fucking dead.